Alright, microphone seems on. I am Cat Nito, Master of Magnet. Hello, Wolfpack. We're back, and we're doing another surprise tier stream. This time, we're ranking one of my favorite superhero franchises from Marvel, the X-Men Saga. All the X-Men movies, specifically the Fox X-Men movies. So, sorry for all of you hoping we were doing the MCU in the future, but at this time, the MCU has not made an official X-Men movie, and no, we are not counting Miss Marvel. We are counting all the Fox Universe X-Men, from the 2000s X-Men all the way to the grand finale, Deadpool 3. There might be more Deadpool content in the future, but this is the last official theatrical release. OMG, Cat, I've been a fan of you for years. Thanks, Audie. Glad you came. Torrance Sampson. Hi, everyone. Hey, Torrance. So does Deadpool and Wolverine count here, or are we just gonna call it the MCU? We will count Deadpool and Wolverine because we want to end this on a high note, and it is a part of the first two, which are still in the Fox universe. So, yeah, we are counting all the way from the early 2000s X-Men to Deadpool and Wolverine, which is the first one that's a part of the MCU, but a final farewell to the Fox universe, and let's face it, a better finale than the New Mutants and Dark Phoenix are. So, I love the X-Men saga so much. Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine is on here. Yeah, I count Deadpool and Wolverine as Fox and MCU. Yeah, because the Fox characters are all over this movie, and Deadpool did start in this universe, so it's appropriate we have his final film in the trilogy, allegedly the final film. I'm sure we'll see Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool elsewhere in the MCU, but we're doing official X-Men titles, which has an X-Men in each and every one of these. So if you don't know, the Fox X-Men movies, we're going to be ranking them all from best to worst. Fox X-Men, it had its ups and downs. There are some really bad movies here, but I would defend a lot of good movies, a lot of fun movies. The X-Men are really cool. They're basically mutant heroes fighting for their rights and stopping bad humans from being racist against other mutants, or evil mutants from destroying the entire world. Namely, their arch nemesis Magneto, the Sentinels, the corrupt Colonel William Stryker, and Deadpool's random ass villains of different comic book plots. X-Men has kind of been all over the place. Some movies are good, some are awful, some are just plain okay, and others are Origins Wolverine. Got at least, I believe, 13 movies here, so not doing a huge list this time. Want to do something smaller, but I love the X-Men. I loved the original trilogy. Yes, even the third one. I enjoyed First Class, Days of Future Past. The Deadpool movies are hilarious, and really enjoy the franchise. If you don't know, X-Men are a secret incognito superhero group of mutants who fight for Professor X. Professor X is the owner of the X-Men School for the Gifted. He has his students be trained to use their powers. They can either go on to live normal lives, or they can become superheroes fighting, you know, for representation of mutant kind and just doing noble heroics with their superpowers. The X-Men are named after him because he's the founder, Professor X. They're his X-Men, his soldiers, his family. And it's a very wholesome series because the X-Men are very close. They're all loving heroes. They're kind of undergoing some morality struggles because it is a morally gray, mature series. The X-Men Saga, the first major Marvel Cinematic Universe before the MCU existed. Yep, that is correct. This is the real first universe. I believe they were teasing that Fantastic Four and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man also exist in this universe, but that's now kind of debatable and kind of a moot point after Wolverine and Deadpool erased the timeline. Sure, they would not have had Doomsday or Secret Wars after everything. Yeah, we'll see about that. Deadpool might appear as a cameo in that. Possible hot take, New Mutants is the only one I completely hate. There are some I think are just meh, okay, but still have something about them except for New Mutants. Yeah, New Mutants is kind of a mess. We'll be trying to go in order with these, at least, because there is kind of continuity behind them. I say kind of. Deadpool is mostly its own thing, but we do have to address the Origins Wolverine fiasco first. So anyways, yeah, X-Men had highs, had lows. It's kind of more of an iffy superhero universe now, but I finally look back at it and remember a lot of the great movies. I own the first three in First Class, which are my favorites. I surprisingly do not own Deadpool yet, but we'll see. I guess I'm waiting for the trilogy with Wolverine and Deadpool to come out, but haven't gotten the first two, but they are good movies. There's good, there's bad, and there's kind of meh, forgettable, so gonna be ranking them all on a tier list. So let me explain how tier lists work if this is your first tier list ever. So yeah, we do have to explain. So ranking them all on this list, all the best to the worst movies, how I feel about them, if they're good or whatnot. Up top, S tier, Master of Magnet. These are the classics. These are the best movies of this franchise. These are a load of fun. They are totally awesome. Master of Magnet is the ultimate high praise I can give these movies. Then down here we have Extreme. These are good, not great. They had their good moments. These are definitely watchable movies. They are a fun time. I can see why fans like them. They just have some flaws holding them back, and we might be seeing a lot more down here than in the master status. But Extreme, it is good, but it's not perfect, flawless victory up top. Then we have Silver Cinema. These are decent. They're okay. These are passable. These have their moments, had their shiny silver moments, had an equal amount of good, but also some bad. There are some heavy criticisms here and there, but ultimately I would still say it's a decent movie to watch. Then down here we have Clumsy Storm. These ones are a mess. These ones are all over the place, had some speckles of good ideas here and there, but ultimately did not come out super well. It might be watchable to some, but I would say it's a weak movie. Then we have Depowered Dud. These are lame, forgettable, lame ducks, not very solid writing. They are more messy than a Clumsy Storm is, we'll put it that way. Had no soul to them, and that's what holds them back from greatness. Then, Rock Bottom, Dumb Poo. Yes, I am so clever. Dumb Poo. These are F. Awful, failures, the worst of the worst, the worst comic book movies of all time, and sadly, we might see one or two down here. But yeah, you get the idea, total failures. So, love the X-Men saga. I guess we should start appropriately enough with the first. I forgot New Mutants existed. Yeah, you and me both, Joseph. It's a no-brainer that the first X-Men movie is the best. We'll see about that. I'd say X-Men 2, but can't go wrong with the first, at least the original trilogy. Days of Future Past is my favorite of all. Okay, let's start appropriately with the first, the one that started it all, the 2000s X-Men, and as you can guess, yeah, Master of Magnet. I do enjoy this film. Now, I will warn you, it is kind of overshadowed by later sequels, but the first one, it's definitely good. It's basic X-Men. It's introducing you to the team, to the villains, to this world, and the struggles that mutants and humans suffer living together. Basically, if you don't know, mutants are superpowered beings. Stan Lee decided to stop writing origins for his superheroes and decided, screw it. We'll make a species of mutants. If you have superpowers, you become a superhero or supervillain, it's because you have a mutation at birth. So, mutants are basically, as you can guess, people with superpowers. They have unnatural, supernatural abilities, and humans, of course, hate and fear them, leading to some tension between humankind and mutants as they have to coexist together in this marvelous world. And we get a basic introduction to the X-Men and Magneto as the villain and his Brotherhood of Mutants. Who they are, the team dynamics, basically setting up and introducing X-Men to completely newbie audiences. And I will say it does a very good job. It's very great. A bit slow upon rewatches because you kind of get it now, now, but yeah, it's a good movie. It is fun. I like the X-Men. We don't get too much character development. If you don't know, Wolverine kind of became the main character. Wolverine and Rogue are kind of the audience surrogate characters. They're the ones who get character development. They're the ones who are kind of the new eyes, being like learning the X-Men way, looking into this way of life, and slowly becoming the superheroes we know and love. So my friend Bodie really likes Anna Paquin as Rogue, and yes, she's pretty, but Rogue is the one character I think this movie fails. I know, it's still debated widely amongst us fans, but Rogue is not the best character we know and love, not the classic Rogue. She's more so, I would say, the Jubilee of the team. Rogue is kind of the newbie kid hero. She's the new student at the X-Men Academy. She's the one learning the ropes. She can't handle her powers. She's kind of the one they treat as the baby of the bunch. Wolverine gets a lot more character development. Wolverine became a major fan favorite thanks to this movie because Wolverine is the badass. He's more of a veteran superhero. He's an anti-hero turned into a classical nice guy hero we know and love. Hugh Jackman knocked it out of the park, but I do think Ian McKellen's Magneto and Patrick Stewart as Professor X are icons themselves. I love Magneto and Professor X the most in these movies. They are so cool. They're wise old men, veteran superhero, veteran supervillain, have this very solid chemistry with each other. Magneto, basically an extremist trying to get mutant rights, but wants to exterminate humankind, wants to destroy our society, wants to destroy all normal human beings. Professor X wants to help people coexist, wants to uplift mutants, show them they're accepted, they're well loved. He takes mutants in, basically, and raises them on the good path, raises them right, raises them to basically be better themselves, be better mutants, be better representations for their kind, and most importantly, learn how to handle their superpowers so they can feel like they're living a normal life amongst society. The X-Men fight to save the world, fight to protect mutants, and they do protect humans. Magneto, his Brotherhood of Mutants, wants to destroy humankind. It's a no-brainer. Yep, the first X-Men movie is the best. My friend told me that when he first saw Mystique in theaters for the first time, it was the feet scene that gave his awakening inside of down below. Yeah, Mystique is very hot in this movie. Rebecca Romijn's Mystique, underrated. She is one of the best characters. She easily was my first X-Men crush. She and Storm, but I like Storm on X-Men Evolution a lot better. Halle Berry, very pretty, but she doesn't do much in the first movie. In the sequels, she's more badass, but Mystique, always great. She was the greatest part in these movies. And I did like Jennifer Lawrence at first as Mystique, but we'll talk about that later. God tier casting. One of the reasons I'm glad these movies are still kind of retroactive canon through the multiverse. Hi, Kat. Hey, Akira. Yep, X-Men movies, not the cartoons. But yeah, the casting knocked it out of the park. Patrick Stewart as Professor X, love him. Hugh Jackman, of course he's great as Wolverine. Ian McKellen's Magneto is iconic. Michael Fassbender, debatably equal footing with him, but still, Ian McKellen's very great. Rebecca Romijn's Mystique, hot, kick-ass, was my first X-Men crush. She's the sexy, naked blue girl. She can shapeshift like a chameleon. Really awesome powers and a kick-ass Black Widow assassin. Really loved her. I did like Darth Maul plays Toad. It's Ray Park. Ray Park, who played Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace, and the Headless Horseman stunt double on Sleepy Hollow, and Snake Eyes from the G.I. Joe movies. He's actually Toad and surprisingly kick-ass. They made Toad a lot more badass in these movies and created the weird mutant tongue power he has. Yeah, Toad would be later incorporated in his cartoons later, and Sabretooth, played by the worst Michael Myers, Tyler Mane. Tyler Mane's actually pretty scary and badass in this movie, not gonna lie. He's not as good as Liev Schreiber, but that's because Liev Schreiber actually had character development. But yeah, Tyler Mane, he looked pretty badass as Sabretooth, and also his look was incorporated in the cartoons. Like, you can really see Tyler Mane influenced how Sabretooth looks later. The X-Men, kind of mixed bag. Cyclops, not as awesome in this original trilogy. Cyclops got better in the later movies, but James Marsden was never my favorite Cy. Jean Grey, Famke Janssen's very beautiful, very kick-ass. I do think she captured Jean's persona very well. Unfortunately, Jean got really nerfed because, let's be real, her powers would have broken the story. Halle Berry, awesome Storm, honestly. She got better in the sequels, but that's because she had a lot more to do. In this movie, she's the cool teacher, so I really like Halle Berry as Storm. Halle Berry finally got to be in a good comic book movie. But yeah, you get the idea, good casting. Basically, the conflict is the Senate is debating what to do with mutants. Magneto thinks they're going to exterminate them. Like we see, Magneto was a victim of the Holocaust, and he believes mutants are now the next target of oppression. So Magneto's plan, basically, he created a giant super weapon that will mutate humans into mutants. He uses this on a racist senator, Senator Kelly, who becomes a mutant, but the problem is, this machine is fatal. It ends up killing Senator Kelly because his mutation is so unstable, it liquefies his body. And this, he plans to use it on the entire United Nations, who are throwing a party on Ellis Island to debate the mutants. And he wants to basically mutate them so they'll know what it feels like to be like them, and they'll rethink their stance on this bill, basically debating mutant rights. However, this machine is going to kill everyone, and Magneto's going to unleash it upon New York. When is Daphne Blake tier list? Not sure. Might need to find a good one. Also, Mystique is hot. Yes, she is, Akira. Yes, she is. I actually never liked J-Law's hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, so she obviously gets extra attention here. But I definitely still crush on her, even if I didn't. Like, Flushed Away made Rat Wolverine actor and Toad's Magneto actor. Yeah, Ian McKellen and Hugh Jackman are in Flushed Away, which is very hilarious. Storm tier list? Not sure, because Storm doesn't really do anything in the later cartoons. I feel like The Phoenix and The Cure could have easily been separate movies, but I don't hate X-Men 3 as I hinted at earlier. Yeah, that is kind of the problem. X-Men 3 had a lot more going on with it. X-Men 1 is introducing quite a lot of plot, and it's debatable how well the later sequels would handle some of the dangling plot threads. So, it gets worse. The machine needs a mutant as like a battery source powering it. We're tricked into believing that Magneto's after Wolverine because his forces keep attacking Wolverine and Rogue, but surprise, Magneto actually wants Rogue. Rogue has the power to absorb and use other mutants' powers. She can take people's special abilities, whether they're skills or superpowers, and Magneto wants to use Rogue as a battery to basically gift her his powers so she can use the machine to mutate all the United Nations. Why? Because the machine is also fatal to the user. It's weakening Magneto, and he's basically using Rogue as a sacrificial lamb to die in the super weapon. And yeah, it is pretty much how the movie spells out that Magneto is not in the right. After all his tragedy, his suffering, Magneto is a tragic villain. However, he has basically become everything he swore to fight against. He's no different. He's basically the bad guy. He's sacrificing one of his own kind for his cause and does not care, which solidifies Magneto as completely in the wrong and why he's ultimately the greatest villain of X-Men. Rogue almost dies. They defeat Magneto, his forces. We get that kick-ass fight of Wolverine and Sabretooth on the Statue of Liberty. They laser Magneto, and Wolverine destroys the machine before any of the UN gets mutated, and low-key sacrifices himself to save Rogue. Rogue absorbs his healing factor. It almost kills Logan, but he survives because Logan's too badass to die. Magneto's defeated. Mystique gets away thanks to her shape-shifting powers. Really love Rebecca Romijn's Mystique. She is cool and kick-ass. And she also got better in the sequels. She was way better than Jennifer Lawrence, so yeah, I'll say it now. Basically, the X-Men saved the day. The UN now has to rethink its stance on mutants because mutants nearly killed them, but mutants also did save them. Magneto's forces are completely fractured. Some of them are dead, some of them are captured. Mystique's the only one who gets away. The X-Men prove victorious, but Wolverine leaves to find himself in the next sequel, and Rogue becomes a member of the X-Men, where we get a kick-ass scene of Professor X and Magneto playing chess, solidifying that this is only just the beginning. Yeah, this movie is masterful. It is an S-tier movie. I still think it's a very good introduction movie to the X-Men. It's rocks, it's classic, got a really surprisingly good plot, really perfect casting, really nice action. The action scenes did improve, but so did a lot of the character growth. I do think it's a fun movie. It is a master of magnet. Gotta love a villain that sees themselves in the right. Yep, that's what makes Magneto very good. Hey, Fatal Waffle, glad you made it. Like, why is Mystique naked but Dark Phoenix wears clothes? Because with Mystique, her scales cover her naughty bits. Dark Phoenix, I'm not sure. I guess it was because the actress is technically underage in the Dark Phoenix movie, but Famke Janssen was definitely not ugly in her movie. Yeah, to show no hometown bias, I concede. Rebecca Romijn is better, mainly because of the crap writing in later movies. Yeah, that's a thing. Rebecca Romijn's Mystique is awesome, because sometimes less is more, and she was really kick-ass. But yeah, X-Men 1, it is a classic. It is a master of magnet. Speaking of which, let's move on to X-Men 2, X-Men United, which, going on to Master Magnet, and it is a lot better than the first movie. Not gonna lie, I liked it way more. It is the perfect middle chapter follow-up sequel I've ever seen. I did see this movie in theaters. Our dad was a huge X-Men fan, and he brought us here, at kindergarten age, which, yeah, some of the scenes scared the hell out of me, but yeah, X-Men 2, awesome. It is great. It is a perfect sequel. I absolutely love this movie with all my heart. Rebecca Romijn's Mystique, still my favorite. And we meet Nightcrawler and Colonel Stryker, two of the best additions to this franchise, and they are really awesome. Okay, just reading the chat. Yeah, okay. Anyways, X-Men 2, very great. Basically, the tensions between humans and mutants have definitely escalated in this movie. We have one of the best X-Men scenes ever, and it's literally the opening. We meet like a tour group going through the White House. However, a mutant assassin sneaks in with a tour group to assassinate the president, and we see it's Nightcrawler. And really kick-ass scene. It is a perfect scene. Greatest effects, kick-ass action, high tension, and the classical opera music, which is really suspenseful. Nightcrawler gets a kick-ass scene where he breaks into the White House and tries to assassinate the president. He uses his teleportation skills and his mutant beast mode, crawling everywhere, teleporting, throwing guys across the room real fast. It is kick-ass. It is so kick-ass. Nightcrawler almost assassinates the president, but Red Foreman manages to wing Nightcrawler and he disappears. He completely fails but came way too close for comfort, rising the tension between humans and mutants. We follow back with the X-Men, who get to show off a lot better CGI and their powers more. The X-Men get a lot more character and persona in this movie, and that's why I kind of like it more. All the characters definitely feel unique, have their identity. There's a very hilarious scene where they're at a museum, and Professor X, freezes everyone in place with his mind, which really shows you how powerful Professor X is, and is very clever foreshadowing for the endgame plan in this movie. So, Wolverine has failed to find answers about himself, and he ends up returning to the X-Mansion, debating whether he should stay as an X-Men or if he's just crashing temporarily. He hasn't found the answers he seeks. Wolverine is undergoing an identity crisis in this movie. He doesn't have his memories and doesn't remember who he is. Wolverine, we will find out in his unfortunate spin-off movie, Wolverine was a former test subject by the military who was given mutant powers, and he basically undergoes a character arc where he finds out who he really is. He was basically an animal. He was a weapon. He was made by our bad guy. The bad guy of this movie is Colonel Stryker, played by the underrated Hannibal Lecter, Brian Cox. Brian Cox plays this sleazy, racist, psychotic general who thinks mutants are a threat to humankind, and his ultimate plan is to exterminate them. He is basically that guy who hates the mutants, who wants them gone, who believes they're a plague on humanity, and believes he's completely justified because of his dark, tragic backstory, where his son was a mutant. His son is technically the X-Men movie versus mastermind. His son can create illusions, and we find out Colonel Stryker has performed experiments on him and is using him for some sinister end goal. Brian Cox declares war on mutants, and he attacks the X-Mansion with the military, the Black Ops, and once again, another cool scene, very suspenseful, like Black Ops and military are tranquilizing mutant kids, attacking the X-Mansion while Professor X is away, and Wolverine gets a badass moment to shine, Colossus shines, we get a cameo from, I believe, Siren or Dazzler was her name, the girl with the loud scream, but yeah, really kick-ass scene. Hey, Light Jones. Also finally watched the Moon Girl TV finale and feels like a good show that beat Teen Titans Go animation. Bro, everything beats Teen Titans Go's animation. X-Men 2 is cool, but can't get Mystique's body. Blush me. Mystique is hot, man. Not counting a brief mid-credits cameo in the Wolverine, the only Sir Ian McKellen played both Magneto and Gandalf in the same year. The only time. Hey. Like, why mutant kids? Because they're attacking Professor X's school, and basically this is how we know Colonel Stryker is a monster, because he is basically abducting mutant children to use for his experiment. Ultimately, Colonel Stryker has built Dark Cerebro, his super weapon, which clearly inspired by Cerebro, Professor X's super-duper telepath machine. This machine can detect mutants anywhere, and Colonel Stryker abducts Professor X and Cyclops because he wants to have his son brainwash and trick Professor X into using Dark Cerebro to use his telepathy to mass genocide every mutant everywhere. This is why he invades the X-Mansion. This is why has this super drug which can control mutants. This is why he's been influencing all the events. We find out Nightcrawler was innocent. Nightcrawler was brainwashed. He's using his son Mastermind's illusion powers to create drugs that can mind control mutants. They see illusions, they're mind raped into submission, and he uses his son Mastermind to basically trick Professor X into using Dark Cerebro so he can use the telepathy to murder every mutant with his mind, and this will kill every mutant around the globe, successfully exterminating all these disgusting degenerates that Colonel Stryker hates. And ultimately, we get to the best part of the movie, Magneto and the X-Men being forced to join forces together. Get a really great side plot of Mystique breaking Magneto out of prison. It has one of the coolest prison break scenes ever, where Mystique uses her femme fatale powers on the security guard and injects him with, like, iron in his bloodstream, where Magneto rips the blood out of this guard, this douchey guard who hates Magneto. He, like, uses him as, like, a Trojan horse and rips the iron out of his bloodstream to create like these little marbles, which is enough for him to break out of his glass plastic prison. And yeah, it was a really awesome scene. Ian McKellen really owns this role, and the effects still look good to this day. He's using like 2 magnet marbles to kill the guards and break his glass prison system. Really epic scene. Yeah, Magneto breaks out and he and Mystique join forces with the X-Men because if they don't, then they're all going to die. So yeah, very deadly alliance kind of thing. They find Nightcrawler, the mutants who escaped the X-Mansion team up, all of the characters who were scattered around the world unite, and yeah, united they stand, they fight Colonel Stryker, break into his dam. A lot of moments for the characters to shine, and we get to see like literally every X-Men, and Magneto and Mystique especially get a lot of cool scenes in this. Really love Rebecca Romijn's Mystique, and this pretty much solidified my crush on her because she is awesome. She's a badass femme fatale, a super spy on par with Black Widow, and has a lot of the best action scenes in this. Love that meme where she flips off Stryker's goons. That is classic. Like, feels like a fatality what Magneto did. Yeah, definitely. Weird that they didn't use Nightcrawler more. They used him in the opening very well, but yeah, he did kind of get downplayed throughout the rest of the film. X-Men movies are very up and down. Thankfully, we're still on the up. Supposedly, the actor didn't like the makeup. That's Jennifer Lawrence. Rebecca Romijn said she was fine with the makeup. Jennifer Lawrence did not like the Mystique makeup. Logan is the best one of them all. End of stream. I got some thoughts about Logan. Anyways, X-Men 2, they successfully derail the machine, and surprise, Magneto has not changed his ways. He's still the bad guy, and he completely betrays everyone by tricking Professor X into exterminating all the humans instead. Yeah, he uses Dark Cerebro for his own devices. Mystique transforms into Stryker and tricks Mastermind into using the brainwashing machine to kill all humans instead. And Professor X turns his attention, starts killing all the humans, where the X-Men fight to foil both Magneto and Stryker. Stryker thankfully loses. We get that kick-ass battle with Lady Deathstrike, played by Kelly Hu. Kelly Hu is, not gonna lie, she's really hot, so she's obviously another kick-ass, badass female assassin character. The fight between Wolverine and Lady Deathstrike is classic and really brutal. Shows you how feral the Wolverine mutation really is, because Wolverine's fighting a female version of him. He successfully kills Lady Deathstrike and ambushes Colonel Stryker before he escapes. Colonel Stryker gets his comeuppance. He's beat up by Wolverine, beat up by Magneto, and almost gets killed by the death machine that he created, and ultimately chained to a wall where he basically is left for dead. So, they free Professor X. Storm and Nightcrawler do get a badass team-up moment where they break Mastermind's illusion. Not gonna lie, Mastermind as the little girl, really creepy-ass scene, but Storm uses her badass storm powers to make the room so cold that it cracks Mastermind's illusion. Professor X snaps out of it. However, during the fight, the dam base that Colonel Stryker has is completely wrecked and is about to burst. The dam's gonna break, flooding the entire area and killing everyone there. So now it becomes a countdown race to the finish where everyone has to get out. We see Rogue fly for once using the X-Jet. Yeah, sorry, Rogue fans, but this really wimpified her. She flies the X-Jet and rescues them, and they all board. Wolverine tells Colonel Stryker, chained to the wall, to go screw himself, and decides the X-Men are his family. He is done with his past identity, throws away his dog tags, and Wolverine officially becomes an X-Men in this movie. That was what his character arc was all about. Really satisfying. However, Magneto and Mystique get away, but they recruit Pyro, who's had a morality struggle all movie. Pyro joins and becomes an iconic Brotherhood of Mutants minion. He joins Magneto's forces. They take the only escape chopper, while the X-Men struggle to get their jet off the ground before the Flood hits. The Flood does kill Stryker, so don't worry, he gets a satisfying death. However, we get to the tragic scene of this. Jean sacrifices herself by using her superpowers. Jean Grey gets out of the X-Jet and uses her telekinesis to send the X-Jet flying and away from here, while she dies saving them and gets destroyed by the Flood. And yeah, Jean Grey sacrifices herself. It's bittersweet ending. The X-Men saved the day, but Magneto's still at large. They lost one of the best X-Men, and tension between humans and mutants is about to definitely spike up after these events. They get away, and we get a really weird scene where they kind of interrupt the president's speech and tell the president that, oh, it was actually a human who was behind this attack, and the X-Men save the day, where the president rethinks his stance on mutants, realizing that the mutants helped actually save them all. And yeah, mutants might be having a better representation after this movie, but it was not a war without loss. And basically, it ends with a sequel teasing the Phoenix Force. We see the Phoenix rise, like, through the lake. And yeah, the X-Men, Wolverine's now an X-Men, but Cyclops is destroyed, and kind of a bittersweet victory. But yeah, I love X-Men 2. I love it. The action's intense. The music's badass. So many epic action scenes. So many perfect character moments of both the heroes and the villains. Really great writing. X-Men 2, I think, is a perfect middle chapter story. And it's going on Master of Magnet. Yeah, the best fight of the movie. My favorite scene is Mystique and Nightcrawler had the scene, which is a reference to the comics. Yeah, Mystique is actually Nightcrawler's mom. Looking pretty hot, too, for her age, but yeah. Yeah, Mystique and Nightcrawler are actually related, but it's never fully addressed in these movies. It wouldn't surprise me if Mystique slept around and had a son she abandoned, though. I think X-Men Evolution explained it a lot better. Oh, no, Nightcrawler didn't like the makeup. Okay, thank you, John Smith. Yeah, Nightcrawler, Alan Cummings plays Nightcrawler. He's really good, but he felt very uncomfortable because he did wear a lot of practical makeup, and he did wear these painful contact lenses to make his eyes look yellow, because Nightcrawler's eyes are yellow in the comic. They CGI'd them for the new actor who became Nightcrawler, but yeah, really sad Alan Cumming never came back. Like Mystique is the best, she needs her own series. Unfortunately, the prequel movies tried to do that, but yeah, Mystique is awesome in these movies. Love Rebecca Romijn as Mystique. She is my #1 Marvel movie crush. And this movie made me a huge fan of her. Best fight of the whole movie, yep. Is a rumor cast for the MCU X-Men. I heard Channing Tatum might be Gambit again, but we'll see. Henry Cavill as Wolverine, I would like to see his canon, but that was kind of a joke. Like, is Pyro crazy and insane like Bakugo? In the cartoons and comics, Pyro is crazy. In the movies, they give him more of a tragic backstory. He's more of a tragic villain who despises how people treat him different because he's a mutant and wants people to fear his powers. He uses that like to kill a bunch of cops and go on a rampage, realizing he likes causing damage. It's hints at his villain nature. He's going to become the Pyro we know and love. X-Men 2 is great. Yeah, they're both blue. Both Mystique and Nightcrawler, they are related. Nightcrawler's dad is Azazel, who we meet in a different movie, but don't actually see them hook up in the movie-verse. Mystique, either one would be more than welcome to call me daddy. Yeah, okay. Anyways, you get the idea. X-Men 2, it is a master magnet, and I do like it more than the first one. It took everything great about the first movie and doubled it. Did what a sequel should do. It raised the stakes, it doubled down on all its solid strengths, and made it even better than ever. X-Men 2 is a classic. I'm putting it on Master of Magnet. Alright, so time for our first divisive X-Men movie. X-Men 3, The Last Stand. Ultimately the finale of the original trilogy, but as you can see, not the last movie ever. Alright, so there's kind of split reactions. Either you think this is one of the best sequels or one of the worst sequels. X-Men 3, ultimately the final fight. The X-Men versus Magneto and his ultimate mutant army. It is the final stand. It is the final clash. Magneto going balls to the wall, finally eliminating humans and the X-Men. They could always use the multiverse mumbo-jumbo to give Tatum one more shot, then cast a younger actor to be the main Gambit later. Yeah, as much as I like Tatum, he is a lot older than the usual Gambit. I do think the guy who was in Origins Wolverine did a good job as Gambit, but yeah. Channing Tatum, I honestly didn't like his voice, and the suit made him look fat. It was really a weird costume that did not translate well, but we'll talk about that later. Anyways, X-Men 3, I'm gonna go ahead and say it did Dark Phoenix way better. Yeah, it did. Okay, so X-Men 3, trying to tie up everything, and it does have a lot going on. It's the final fight. We meet more new characters. We get character development for Magneto, Wolverine, and Professor X. And Dark Phoenix is introduced in this movie. Jean Grey comes back. Fam Jansen is alive and is now a deadly, lethal femme fatale destroyer of worlds. She's now controlled by the Phoenix Force. And there's also a cure for mutant kind. The government, led by the Angel's dad, Warren Worthington II, I believe. He's this genius CEO and runs a science biolab community where they discovered the cure for mutants. They harvested like blood from a mutant boy named Leech, who has the power to basically turn off your superpowers. Leech has the power to deactivate any superpower, and they have him as like their guest. They use his mutation to manufacture a cure. It can be used to turn off mutant powers and depower them. And the government is offering this worldwide to mutants who want to be normal and readjust to society, which unfortunately raises a controversy. because they see it as like a way, like mutants, some are offended that they think they need a cure and need to basically be normal, trying to force this cure onto people, and things only get worse when we find out the military has the cure as a weapon. We see like Mystique was captured at the start of the movie, she's being transported along with deadly mutant supervillains, and during the prison break, Mystique, saddest scene ever, she loses her superpowers, she's shot with a cure dart, revealing that the military has weaponized the cure and can force it onto mutant supervillains who aren't cooperative. Mystique gets depowered, and we see Rebecca Romijn naked and with her normal human skin. It is pretty nice seeing Rebecca Romijn, but that's because she is naked still. Yeah, Mystique, saddest scene ever, loses her powers, and Magneto pretty much dumps her ass, leaves her basically behind because she's not one of us anymore. And he replaces her effectively with the Juggernaut and Multiple Man instead, who are her fellow cellmates. Yeah, and basically this causes a big controversy because Magneto reveals the cure is also a weapon, so they will eventually force it onto people, and if mutants don't behave themselves, they can take your powers away from you. And yeah, big controversy, mutants are pissed off, some mutants want the cure, some don't want it, and Magneto is using this to rally a bunch of mutants to the Brotherhood of Mutants to form an army and destroy the government facility making the cure to quote-unquote make it safer for mutants. The weakest of the original trilogy, but like that just by a hair. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, yeah, Dark Phoenix. Oh, you thought Dark Phoenix was better? I thought the third one was better. I might be misreading that comment, though. Well, now this means the film gave us the famous YouTube meme, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!" Yeah, classic line. When I heard Beast talking in that film, I can't imagine him as Hank McCoy, but as Sideshow Bob. That's right, Kelsey Grammer is Beast, and ultimately a really good Beast. I actually did like him. Yeah, I know Kelsey Grammer has a very distinct voice, but it's basically Frasier as a mutant. Kelsey Grammer's Beast, one of the best additions. We meet Angel in this movie too, but he has like only a handful of scenes. I thought the guy playing him was pretty good. They have very great CGI in this movie. The angel wings look so realistic. A lot of the fight scenes are really epic. The Phoenix Force is so scary and horrifying, and the cure dart looks pretty good to this very day. The cure that can take away powers. We see a lot of mutants turn back into normal humans, lose their CGI bodies, all that kind of jazz. And if you don't know, the Phoenix Force is also a side story in this movie. Jean Grey is back and alive, however, she's not herself. She's controlled by the Phoenix Force, which is the embodiment of her powers. It's her superpowers given a personification. And basically, after Jean died, the Phoenix Force took over. She came back from the dead, murdered Cyclops, and we find out that Phoenix is unstable. Phoenix is a psychopath. Phoenix is on the loose, unleashing her powers and like killing people kind of Thanos style, like disintegrating everyone at the molecular level. She kills Cyclops, and one of the most tragic deaths in this franchise, Patrick Stewart's Professor X dies in this movie. And yeah, it's always got me. This actually really made me sad and depressed as a kid. Professor X, the nice guy, the wise mentor, the hero of the X-Men and founder of the school. Professor X tries to reason with the Phoenix, tries to get Jean back, only to tragically fail. Phoenix disintegrates him to dust. Magneto and Wolverine and the entire school completely heartbroken, and basically the X-Men are completely fractured in this movie. They lose members, a lot more character deaths, a lot more characters leaving. Rogue decides she wants the cure and she's out. There's two alternate endings to how Rogue's story ends, but yeah, you get it. Professor X's death was sad. Fully agree, that was the most depressing. She hooks up with both Cyclops and Logan, who was weird, seeing how they basically make out in that one scene. Yeah, I heard she did. Also, I've always wondered if Rebecca really did do that scene where she used her feet to grab the keys to unlock herself, or if it was CGI. I guess they made it look easy through camera. Oh, hello, whose life I did have to get over to... Anyways, I got the video to comment, a PFP to fix, and bad guys to kill me. Oh, so yeah, Professor X, that death, honestly, super sad. I think it's the best Professor X death, and yeah, they do kill Professor X over and over again in the rest of these movies. His worst one is easily WandaVision, but this one, definitely the best one. Professor X dies, and the X-Men are kind of fractured. Cyclops is dead, Professor X is dead, Jean has turned to the dark side, Magneto recruited the Phoenix onto his side, and uses her powers to kill. She's kind of a super weapon at his disposal now. Phoenix has gone to the dark side, Wolverine and Storm are kind of in charge, and not the best leaders, are trying to keep the family together, basically. Really heartwarming story. Logan is struggling because he wants to save Jean, but ultimately Jean is gone. It gets hammered into his head that Jean is not there. Storm becomes sort of a co-leader alongside Wolverine, and Beast is there trying to help keep the school back together. Really nice seeing Beast. Kelsey Grammer knocks it out of the park. Another perfect casting. Magneto is rallying his gang of supervillains who are, if you don't know, the Juggernaut, Bitch, Pyro, and the Morlocks. We do meet the Morlocks in this movie. We meet Spike. We meet, what was her name? The butch girl who's like the gang leader of the Morlocks. Leech is ironically one of the members of the Morlocks, and he's someone they're trying to kill. Multiple Man gets an appearance in this movie and all that jazz. See a lot more villains, a lot more heroes. Iceman actually gets a nice character arc where he becomes the Iceman we know and love. Alright, so the best part about X-Men The Last Stand is easily the final battle. The third act, the climax, the final fight where Magneto's forces invade Alcatraz Island, which is where the which is where the facility that made Leech is. You know the scene where Magneto lifts the Golden Gate Bridge, and they really epically storm the castle, basically, to kill Leech. However, the X-Men, of course, show up for their last stand. We see the final string of X-Men making their final stand. We meet Wolverine, Storm, Iceman, finally an X-Men, Ellen Page, back when she was a female, as Shadowcat, Colossus finally gets to do something, and Beast finally fights and throws down. He finally gives up on the diplomatic pacifist nature and helps the X-Men, and really awesome fight scene. It is cool. It is kick-ass. All the X-Men shine. We see kick-ass fight scenes, epic CGI, really intense music. The Golden Gate Bridge scene, really awesome. Like, you look me in the eye and tell me that scene is bad. That scene is really epic. We get the Juggernaut, bitch. Juggernaut goes in to try and assassinate Leech, but Shadowcat beats him to it. My dad really loved the scene where Shadowcat tricks Juggernaut into knocking himself out. I'm the wrong guy to play hide and seek with. Who's hiding, dickhead? And he rams into the wall and it knocks him out because he's in the depowered room, which absolutely hilarious. My dad loved that scene. He laughed so hard. But yeah, they save Leech. Ultimately, Magneto loses his powers when Wolverine and Beast trick him. They inject him with the mutant cure where Magneto's completely depowered and helpless. However, Phoenix goes on the loose. Phoenix now has no master. The villains are defeated except for Phoenix, and she goes on a Thanos murder spree, disintegrating and making everyone disappear snap style in sight. Wolverine does his final plea to get Jean back. And absolutely love this scene. It is just as tragic and epic as Professor X's death. Wolverine's trying to walk up to the Phoenix, and we see she's trying to disintegrate him, but his healing factor is keeping him alive, struggling to keep up and making sure she doesn't finish him. Wolverine's like getting disintegrated. We see Hugh Jackman shirtless, so there you go, ladies. He's trying to keep up and walking towards the Phoenix Force in her center energy field. He makes it there, and she asks, "You would die for them?" And he's like, "No, for you." And this unlocks the last speck of Jean's personality, where she begs Wolverine to mercy kill her. And Wolverine does so, murdering the only woman he ever loved. Wolverine mercy kills the Phoenix, fatally stabs her, and puts an end to this rampage. And that's the end. Another bittersweet ending, but a really uplifting ending because Jean's sacrifice was not in vain. Basically, They save the day, they stop the mutants, and prove that mutant kind is good. Mutants save the day, Angel becomes a superhero, he helps save his dad. We see the X-Men are finally treated as heroes, and Beast runs for president in the end. Jean is dead, but she got to die as herself, and Wolverine at last got to say his final goodbye to her, which is something he didn't get to do in X-Men 2. His literal name is Spike. Yeah, that's the Spike from X-Men Evolution. Professor X, not to be confused with Mr. X. I have mixed feelings that Rogue took the antidote, but now she can know love. Yeah, controversial part of the ending. Rogue did accept the cure. There is 2 endings. I have the DVD. There's 2 endings where there's one where Rogue took the cure and one where she didn't take the cure. Basically, they gave her the cure one because I guess they realized Rogue was not that great a character and she can finally touch men without killing them and shares her first handhold with Iceman. She and Iceman were going through relationship drama and Iceman finally can touch Rogue and they can be together. It's what she wants. But yeah, a lot of people did not like Rogue took the power cure. Sorry, just catching up on comments. Professor X's death was sad, yeah. His literal name is Spike. Well, Emily says the Spike, because that's what he was in X-Men Evolution. But yeah, that's Spike. Screen Rant pitch meeting. That's the name of the movie. Support his decisions, but Ellen Page was a hottie as a woman. Yeah, she was. Ellen Page used to be hot when she was a chick. She's not a very attractive dude. I'm just gonna put that out there. I've never seen anyone, like female or other trans people, say Ellen Page looks hotter now. She looks very weird, and a part of that is her face. I think her face looks too feminine still. I don't know if it's a Mandela effect. I remember him actually kissing her as he stabs her. No, they kissed first and then he stabbed her. The sacrifice is definitely treated much better in this movie than the Dark Phoenix. Fully agree. Jean's death is a lot sadder. So, yeah, bittersweet ending. Jean, Cyclops, and Professor X are dead until you see the post-credit scene where Professor X is revealed to be alive. He transferred his mind into a coma patient who conveniently looks like Patrick Stewart, and he hooks up with Moira McTaggart, leaving hope for a future, and we see Magneto hasn't fully lost his powers, he'll be back. The Leech powers, this is an allusion to the comics. Leech's powers, like Rogue's, are temporary. They temporarily shut down the superpowers, meaning that the cure is now kind of worthless, but yeah. The villains are defeated, and the X-Men are treated as heroes. Mutants are now fully accepted by society, which I do like, and Beast is running for president, where he and Wolverine finally become bros by the end, which, yeah, really cool ending. So, might be controversial, but I actually like this movie. I'm wondering if I should put it on Master of Magnet or Extreme. Screw it. I'll put it on Master of Magnet just because it won by Rebecca Romaina's Mystique. Really loved her. Yeah, I will defend. This is a good movie. It does have flaws, so I'll put it at the end of the Master of Magnet list, but I will defend. It's a good conclusion. It is a great finale to a trilogy. It actually feels like an ending for the series. Has awesome action, awesome effects, really incredible storytelling. These plots are good. The problem is there's a lot more going on here, almost too much, and the Phoenix Force and the Mutant Cure, it could have been their own separate movies. I do agree to that, and really anticlimactic death for Cyclops. Hated how they treated Cyclops in these movies. Cyclops was my favorite back on X-Men Evolution, and seeing him get cucked by Wolverine and ultimately killed by his girlfriend felt like a huge middle finger, but Ty Sheridan from the later movies did Cyclops more justice. But I do think The Last Stand is a good X-Men movie. It is fun. It is kick-ass. It has its great moments. The heroes and characters really shine. I think the plot is fine. It is not better than the first two, I do agree, but I do not think it's bad. It wins thanks to Rebecca Romaine as Mystique, even though they depowered my girl. But hey, she might be back if Magneto was. But yeah, Last Stand will be last on this list, but I do think it is good. I do defend it. It's a good X-Men movie. Supposedly he had a twin in the comics. Okay, yeah, you're talking about Professor X. I heard that was a rumor, but I thought the Juggernaut was his twin brother. Well, that was DC's fault. Yeah. That's right, Marsden was filming Superman Returns and he got downgraded on this movie, but yeah. I will defend, I think it's good, but don't worry, it's not going to outclass the original two. But I do think it is a master of magnet. Alright, time to talk about the worst. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Going on to Dumb Poo. Yeah, all these years later, I do agree. It's one of the worst X-Men movies ever. So if you don't know, after the ending of the original trilogy, Fox decided to have spin-off movies, which would be origin adventures for the X-Men characters. We were supposed to get a whole franchise of these. There was going to be X-Men Origins Wolverine, X-Men Origins Magneto, X-Men Origins Storm, X-Men Origins Rogue, etc. You get the idea. All the characters are going to have their solo adventures because a lot of people wanted more after how good the original trilogy was. Unfortunately, this movie proved to be so bad that it kind of killed that idea entirely. X-Men Origins Wolverine is exactly what you think it is. It is Wolverine's origin. It is Wolverine's story before he joins the X-Men. And yeah, it's not good. For one thing, you know exactly what the story is. I think X-Men 2 did a pretty good job telling you everything about Wolverine's origin. We see Wolverine from when he's a little boy all the way to when he grows up into Hugh Jackman. And there are some fun action scenes in this, but the CGI has gotten worse. The storytelling is not very good. There's a lot of BS plot twists and plot holes. There's very wonky CGI. The action is a lot stupider and juvenile than later movies. They do not do justice for these characters. Special mention going to Deadpool. Yeah, after all these years later, the Deadpool in this movie. Ryan Reynolds is actually good in the flashback, but in the present day, yeah, they sew his mouth shut. Yeah, you know that one. The crash test dummy Deadpool. The merc with a mouth who lost his mouth. All that jazz. I still can't believe Ryan Reynolds was in this. Yeah, people were looking forward to it. Ryan Reynolds from Van Wilder plays Deadpool, and he is in this movie. We do see a young Wade Wilson when he was a merc on the Weapon X program. We see Wolverine when he was a boy, and we do meet Sabretooth properly through this movie. Wolverine had some family drama. It does not go anywhere. Basically, we find out he was kind of a bastard child from this love affair. He kills his dad and kills his, lets his foster dad die, completely abandons his mom, apparently, basically reveals that he's a mutant when he grows claws from his childhood trauma, and it turns out Sabretooth is his half-brother. Sabretooth and Wolverine are brothers, and they run away together because society would never accept them, where we get, honestly, a pretty cool opening where we see Wolverine throughout the years. Wolverine fought in literally every war. Wolverine is like 1,000 years old. He was there in the Revolution War, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and in this timeline, the Vietnam War. Yeah, it was honestly a pretty cool opening, and tragically, the first 10 minutes would have been a better movie than what we got. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds was in this. I mean, I can't believe Deadpool's in that movie. Yeah, Deadpool is in this movie, and a lot of fans really unhappy what they did with him, me included. Yeah, it takes place in 1970. What I found strange is that the firm stand, Mystique had black hair when she became normal, yet in the other films she has blonde. Well, that's when Jennifer Lawrence took over and they retconned it. The only good scene of that crappy movie is when Wade Wilson uses his blades to deflect bullets, and surprising that Ryan Reynolds played him here first. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool in this movie. Ryan Reynolds, he's honestly pretty funny, but up until they turn him into a test subject, and sew the merc with the mouth's mouth shut. X-Men movies this time, huh? Alright, I see the original trilogy is high tier, and glad Wolverine is where it belongs, bottom tier. Yay, hey Shadowlink. We finished talking about the original trilogy. I think all three are good. They're on Master of Magnet, and we're on our first bad one, Origins Wolverine, which is a dumb poo. Yeah, it gave Ryan Reynolds material for the Deadpool movie. He would make fun of this years later on his Deadpool spinoff, but unfortunately, Deadpool not done justice in this movie. It is just one of the many terrible aspects of it. His fight with the Blob was fun, though. Yeah, the big fat guy. Glad Blob finally appeared in these movies, but the CGI on him looked really weird. He had like a fat suit, but they also used special effects for his fight, which looked questionable. The real Deadpool fixed that retcon in Deadpool 2. Yeah, where he shoots the Origins Deadpool. Really funny. Okay, so basically, we see Wolverine join the Weapon X program. He joins Colonel Stryker. We see a younger Colonel Stryker, played by Danny Huston this time, and Danny Huston has kind of played the same bad guy in everything he's been in, all the way to the Crow reboot. Danny Huston, not a bad job, but I don't see him growing into Brian Cox. That was kind of my criticism of him. Basically, we see younger Colonel Stryker recruit the Weapon X program, where we meet this cast. We meet Wolverine, Sabretooth is a member, we meet Agent Zero, who is vastly different from his comic counterpart, we see Blob, who has his super strength, and he becomes a fat guy later, we meet Will.i.am, who's Wraith. I did like the video game tease that he's actually Nightcrawler's dad. Wraith has the teleporting power. We meet Dominique Monaghan or something. He plays like an expendable mutant who can control technology. And we meet Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson before he becomes Deadpool. We do meet, Deadpool is in this movie. They actually did have Ryan Reynolds play him because Ryan Reynolds really thought he was going to be in a good movie and have that spin-off later, which he didn't get until 2016. A lot of people like to joke that he was a real Captain America. Yeah. Though I like this movie more than people, this was definitely one of my most favorite honest trailers. The Blob, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Yeah, the Blob is this big fat guy, and the wrestling match looked really weird. I heard some people do like that scene, but the special effects in the fat suit look really off. So Wolverine's a part of Weapon X until he realizes that the Weapon X mutants are evil. They're doing the government's dirty work, basically. Colonel Stryker is using them for illegal Black Ops mission, which makes Logan grow a sense of morals, and he quits Weapon X program to get a normal life where he hooks up with Silver Fox and has like a normal settled down farm life. However, Sabretooth is still after him. Sabretooth is kind of the fake out villain in this movie. We believe he killed Silver Fox, and Colonel Stryker offers Wolverine a second chance at the Weapon X program, where he gets his iconic metal claws. Wolverine's not strong enough to best Sabretooth with his bone claws, where he gets his ass kicked, but upgrades to the metal claws, which grow like over his bones. This is where Wolverine got the adamantium skeleton and became the man we know and love. However, the experiment is too much for Logan. He freaks out, runs away, get a nude shot of Hugh Jackman for all the ladies out there, which I won't complain. I love Rebecca Romijn's Mystique, so girls getting Hugh Jackman fan service shots, not at all bad. He runs away, he joins the Kent farm. However, it becomes clear that Colonel Stryker is the real bad guy because he sends the Weapon X agents after him to assassinate him. There's sort of a team reunion kind of movie. Agent Zero has a fight scene with Wolverine. It's cool at first until it goes on and we get more ridiculous shots of Wolverine hopping helicopters and actually uses his claws to destroy a helicopter blade and rides a motorcycle. Agent Zero dies. Then we find out Sabretooth and Silver Fox were both working for Colonel Stryker. It was all this long, elaborate scheme to get Wolverine to be a test subject and become his new exterminator. It's very bizarre. It tries to go for like a spy thriller type of story, but it is all over the place and very contrived, and absolutely nobody was surprised that Silver Fox was really alive and she faked her death and was secretly helping Colonel Stryker this whole time. We see Colonel Stryker is doing what he did in the second movie, abducting a bunch of mutant children to perform experiments on. Only the video games, yeah, they got Wolverine's hype, right? The Origins Wolverine video game, a million times better than this movie. Play the game over watching this, because the game's actually fun and made Wolverine kick ass. Whereas here, they tried to kind of lighten Wolverine up, make him a tragic anti-hero, which works at times. Hugh Jackman is definitely good in this, but even he can't save some of this garbage material. It is not all that great. This movie did introduce me to Liev Schreiber. He was underrated as Sabretooth in my opinion. Yeah, Liev Schreiber, he looked like Sabretooth, acted like a cool supervillain, and he has this kind of frenemy relationship with Logan. Their dynamic was easily one of the best parts. Like Sabretooth, I did like Will.i.am as Wraith. He was pretty cool. Ryan Reynolds is funny as Deadpool at first, but then we get to the final act. Colonel Stryker basically wants to remake mutant children into super soldiers for the government. He's doing illegal experiments on mutant children. We see he captured Wade Wilson, had Sabretooth as his agent out there, abducting and assassinating mutants. Wraith does die, a really confusing and weird death where I guess Sabretooth punched through him before he teleported. It's very bizarre. Could not tell what was going on. I thought he just disrupted his powers, but no, that killed Will.i.am. And basically creating the ultimate soldier, the Deadpool, where we meet the awful crash test dummy mouth sewn shut Dumb-Poo. Dumb-Pool is basically given all the mutant powers from the experiments and becomes kind of a final boss where Logan has to fight. And there's kind of this ridiculous scene where Colonel Stryker is controlling him through a 70s computer like a video game. Like, Wolverine and Deadpool end up teaming up together to defeat and slay Dumb-Pool. And we find out that Professor X actually saves the mutant kids. There's very weird, trippy CGI shot of Patrick Stewart with de-aging tech, and it does not look good. It does not look good. The special effects in this are bad, and Professor X looks very off, like he's the Mr. Clean guy. Patrick Stewart's Professor X cameos, and he saves Cyclops, saves Emma Frost, who isn't the Emma Frost as she gets retconned later, and saves all the mutant kids. Silver Fox tragically dies, assassinated by Sabretooth. She's bleeding out, and Sabretooth and Wolverine team up and destroy Dumb-Pool. Gambit is in this movie too. I did like the guy who played Gambit. He was pretty kick-ass, and the one character they actually got right, but yeah. Sounds like a lame name. Just Deadpool sounds better. It does. Old Deadpool is ugly. Yeah, he is. Only highlights to me from Origins were the opening scene, Sabretooth, Blob, and Silver Fox. Lynn Collins was pretty hot. Fully agree there, Bodhi. Silver Fox is very pretty. Emma Frost could have been hot too, but they de-aged her and made her Silver Fox's sister or something. Yeah, his design was better in the comics. Way better. Yeah, so Professor X saves the mutant kids. Wolverine and Sabretooth behead Dumb-Pool. Dumb-Pool dies, and I guess his laser eyes were still working. They gave Dumb-Pool all the powers of the mutants in the movie, and it's very weird and not very good. It's a really cringe final boss fight scene. And yeah, basically Dumb-Pool dies, except if you watch the post-credit scene where Ryan Reynolds winks to the audience that he's alive. So they defeat him. Sabretooth goes out on his own. Wolverine tries to kill Colonel Stryker, but Colonel Stryker shoots him in the head with a gun, and no joke, the bullet shot to his head gave him amnesia. Yeah, that's how Wolverine lost his memories. Colonel Stryker shot him in the head and it hurt his brain and erased his entire past. He forgot he was James Howlett. He forgot everything, and it's why he has amnesia in the original trilogy. So, Colonel Stryker is about to clean up and tie up the loose ends. However, Silver Fox uses her powers to force Stryker to walk away until his feet bleed. Why she didn't make him kill himself? Well, that would ruin the continuity. And Colonel Stryker forgets what happened and walks out into the open until he dies. And spoilers, he doesn't, because they break his mutation. So when Silver Fox dies. Silver Fox dies in Wolverine's arms, and tragically he doesn't remember her. And Gambit tries to recruit Wolverine to become partners in crime, only for Wolverine to not remember, and he decides to go out on his own, which will eventually lead to his appearance in X-Men 1. And we end on a cheap post-credit scene of Deadpool's severed head winking to the audience, hinting at a spin-off that won't come till years later, which retconned this crappy movie. Yeah, Origins Wolverine sucks. It is a mess. Way too many plot threads that don't make sense. Very awful CGI. I swear the 2000s movies look better than this. Hugh Jackman's talents are wasted. Lee Schreiber's talents are wasted. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool badly butchered. He's got a god-awful design, a god-awful character arc, and killed rather anticlimactically and thankfully erased thanks to the good Deadpool movies. And yeah, it's just not good. It's a cheap, lazy spy thriller with mutants, and it is bad. It is the first god-awful, irredeemably bad movie in this saga. Not even Hugh Jackman could save it. That's how bad it was. Origins Wolverine, more like dumb poo. Like Mr. Sinister isn't in X-Men movies. He was supposed to be, but they never got around to having him. First Class Emma Frost was smoking, fully agree. Gambit needs a Disney Plus series. Not sure about that. I saw what they did with Echo. Also, her design in the comics is better. Yeah, Silver Fox looked more mythical in the comics. Oh, Gambit as well. Loved him. I prefer Taylor Kitsch over Channing Tatum. He acted more like Gambit from the comics, just without the accent Tatum gave him. Well, Gambit was living in Las Vegas around this time, so yeah. Yeah, Taylor Kitsch, better Gambit. Way better than Channing Tatum, because one, he actually looks like Gambit, and he acted like Gambit, and he had the awesome playing card magic. Well, his fight scene with Wolverine was kind of confusing. He, blows him out of a building, then Gambit is, miles away parkouring on buildings where he jumps in with his staff. That was very odd. Or Wolverine in a bar in Japan, depending on which version you saw, I guess. Yeah, that's true. We see Wolverine in the Japanese bar, hinting at the Wolverine, the sequel where he goes to Japan, which actually is the canon post-credit scene. Supposedly, they were going to have the New Mutants foreshadow Mr. Sinister, but then Disney happened. Yeah, Mr. Sinister sadly never got to be in these movies. We do see his industry, Essex Corporation, is here. Gambit needs to be in Death Battle soon. Who would Gambit fight? Also, Gambit is better than Simon from Miraculous. The Wolverine in Japan is nostalgic for me because I think it was the first X-Men movie I saw. Yeah, Wolverine does go to Japan. That is considered the canon post-credits scene because the Wolverine does take place in Japan, and in his last solo movie, we see him in Japan. So yeah, it makes sense. All right, gonna use the restroom, but I'll be right back. We're going to start with the new era, First Class. BRB. All right, Cat Nito is back. Not gonna lie, I think the Wolverine is worse than Origins. I couldn't keep up with much of the story, and they ruined Madam Hydra, who doesn't belong in the film. Fully agree. And Silver Samurai sucks too, yeah. Didn't say it was great, it's just nostalgic. Okay. Well, we gotta talk about X-Men First Class first, because this was the new soft reboot, the new prequel era of the X-Men, and one more comic accurate. First Class, it is First Class, Master of Magnet. I love this movie. This is easily one of my favorite X-Men movies, too. X-Men First Class, it is epic. It is legendary. It has some of the best X-Men scenes, the best character developments, and shows you how being a superhero in Marvel is fun. If you don't know, this is the prequel of how Professor X became the leader of the X-Men and his first superhero mission. We see the origins of the X-Men all the way back in the 60s, and a lot of loving tributes for the X-Men comics in this movie. We see how mutants became kind of discovered by the modern world. We see how mutants came to be in this universe. We see humanity witnessing mutants and superhumans for the first time ever. All the mixed reactions. A lot of people are fearful or hate the mutants. However, Professor X wants to show that mutants are capable of good, where he forms his superhero team, the X-Men. And yeah, the perfect casting too. James McAvoy, Professor X, not as great as Patrick Stewart, but he is pretty awesome. And Michael Fassbender's Magneto, legendary. Love these two guys. They capture Professor X and Magneto perfectly. First Class X-Men is a masterpiece, very great cast, and origin story for many of the X-Men. Fully agree, Shadowlink. First Class, Days of Future Past, and Logan are the top 3 films for sure. Also, what happened to Azazel, the Red Nightcrawler? He awkwardly disappeared. I heard he was killed off screen in between movies. Translation, they didn't pay the actor to come back. Yeah, you found the Mystique and Magneto weird? Okay, so Jennifer Lawrence takes over as Mystique, and not gonna lie, I do actually like Mystique as this socially awkward, shy, nice girl before she became Rebecca Romijn, the badass femme fatale we all know and love. I actually really enjoyed that about Mystique. Mystique is socially awkward, she's dorky, she wants to date, wants men to love her, wants to be normal, but she's kind of treated as a freak because she's blue, which always found bull crap. It's like Mystique is seen as unattractive by everyone, but she's literally like a blue supermodel. She looks like a hot chick with blue skin. That is how Mystique is quote-unquote ugly. Mystique is actually Professor X's foster sister in this to have a way to, you know, make the characters have a more solid dynamic. Professor X and Mystique become government agents, help the government hunt down a mutant supervillain known as Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw and the Hellfire Club are the villains, and basically, Sebastian Shaw is orchestrating World War III to happen because he believes humanity will kill itself and the mutants will take over. He's escalating the war, using his powers to manipulate politics, events, and Russia and America will destroy each other in World War III, where he will rebuild a mutant society because he believes mutants are the future. Sebastian Shaw is clearly a prototype Magneto, but with a lot more Hitler parallels. So, really liked Sebastian Shaw. Emma Frost is hot and actually looks like the character. January Jones, she is beautiful, but she is not as good as Wolverine and the X-Men's Emma Frost. I will admit that, but yeah, at least she looks like the character. And this is villain Emma Frost, so she is firmly involved in the Hellfire Club. We see Nightcrawler's dad, Azazel. We see Riptide, and they later recruit Angel Salvador, who turns to the dark side. Zoe Kravitz is also in this movie as a mutant stripper. A lot of hot chicks. Mystique, Angel, Moira McTaggart, Emma Frost. Yeah, they really directed the women very well in this. Yeah, Nightcrawler's dad. Yeah, Azazel is Nightcrawler's dad. In the comics, in the movies, I guess they had a hookup off screen, but we never see it. And I'll just say it, while I liked Ian McKellen Magneto, Michael Fassbender is the definitive live-action Magneto for me. Yeah, Bodhi loves the Frankenstein's monster scene from Michael Fassbender. Yeah, Sebastian Shaw does die by the coin in this movie. In that one scene. First Class introduced me to Kevin Bacon, now one of my all-time favorite actors. Yeah, Kevin Bacon plays Sebastian Shaw. Very charismatic. The mutants are more like Bond villains in this. They're kind of like Kevin Bacon's a James Bond villain mutant, Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw is basically an evil mass murderer oppressor who leads the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club are evil mutants who want to take over the world, and they're basically causing the Cuban Missile Crisis. That is the actual finale, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where Sebastian Shaw is trying to force World War III to happen and have those missiles delivered and trigger the war. He's watching like all of this from the safety of his underwater submarine, where he will dodge the war entirely until Magneto forcibly drags him out. So, we meet a lot of great X-Men in this. I do like Nicholas Hoult as Beast. Kelsey Grammer is the way better Beast, but Nicholas Hoult does a pretty good job. We meet Beast, we meet Angel Salvador, we meet Banshee in this, we meet Cyclops' brother Havoc is in this movie. Sadly, not a surfer bra like in the cartoon. And we meet Zoe Kravitz as Angel Salvador. Moira McTaggart is Professor X's love interest. She's a government agent who's exploring kind of the mutant cases. Nobody believes her until Professor X helps her case, and they form a cute little romance, and most of the movie is about Professor X, Magneto, and Mystique, all their character arcs, and we see them becoming the characters we know and love from the original trilogy. Professor X is idealistic, optimistic, hopeful, and unfortunately very naive. He has faith in good and wants to help Magneto find his path, become the good guy. We see him becoming the Professor X we know and love. However, it's very clear Professor X is very sheltered and cannot save everyone. Magneto, on the other hand, we are following him after he broke out of the concentration camp. Magneto wants revenge on all the Nazis who held him prisoner, killed his mother, tortured him there. He has a lot of epic murder scenes. He like tortures a Nazi banker by ripping out like his fillings. He kills the guys at the bar. My friend Bodhi loves the let's just say I'm Frankenstein's monster. That scene, really epic, where he uses his magnetism for the first time. Really awesome. And he's trying to ultimately kill Sebastian Shaw, but Sebastian Shaw is a superpowered mutant, meaning he can't do it alone. Magneto reluctantly joins Professor X's team, and we do see Magneto has good in him, but ultimately his bad outweighs his good. Magneto is completely driven by revenge, and throughout the movie, despite he and Professor X having total bro moments, absolutely loving each other, growing to respect each other's skills, Magneto is ultimately still a bad guy. He tortures Emma Frost in a really suspenseful scene where he almost like shatters her in her diamond form. We see him casually murder commies, Nazis, and ultimately he does kill Sebastian Shaw in the final fight. Gotta give credit, they perfectly casted these characters twice. So, I like Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique in this movie, not so much moving forward, because here she's kind of playing a younger, more naive Mystique. Mystique wants to be normal, however, she's kind of having an identity crisis. She doesn't know if she wants to join Professor X's path or Magneto's path. Michael Fassbender basically seduces her to the dark side. She tells Mystique that she's perfect the way she is. He's the first guy that would kiss her in her blue form. I do love the cute Rebecca Romijn cameo, like she transforms into Rebecca Romijn in Magneto's bed. Magneto basically kind of wins Mystique over to his side. Mystique realizes that Magneto has a fair point. She shouldn't have to hide being a mutant, mutant and proud. She wants to be herself and wants people to love her for her. However, she's tired of using her shape-shifting powers for the benefit of others. And Magneto makes her feel like a fulfilled woman, brings her happiness, and yeah, basically she really wants to fuck Michael Fassbender in this movie. Yeah, Azazel is Nightcrawler's dad. However, we don't see them boink on screen. Like, why did she join Magneto's team? Because Magneto showed her that she can be mutant and proud and actually loves her in her blue form. Personally, I love her in her blue form also, and I think anyone calling her ugly is stupid. And she didn't keep her clothes because basically it's a metaphor for how she doesn't have to hide her mutation. She's mutant and proud. She accepts her sexy lizard girl chameleon look, and hey, I'm not complaining. Jennifer Lawrence complained that she didn't like being naked, but Rebecca Romijn had no problem with it, but so it made Jennifer Lawrence look like a baby. Apparently she did have an allergic reaction to the paint, so I'll give her that, but yeah. She didn't like wearing the blue skin, even when she did cover up and wear clothes. Fassbender is the only one who finds her perfect, and us fans will always agree. Yep. Mystique in her blue form, perfection. Absolutely love her in that. World War III, like, why not become president? That was Sebastian Shaw's plan, but he's more of a dictator than a democratic ruler. My favorite scenes is during the recruitment scene where Logan almost got recruited, but he rejected the offer. Hello. Hello, I'm Charles. This is Eric. Go fuck yourself. And they just leave. Yeah, the Wolverine cameo is pretty hilarious, not gonna lie. I wish Stan Lee got a cameo in that montage too, but whatever, Stan Lee will appear in the other movies. I miss January Jones as Emma. Deadpool and Wolverine could have benefited having her return. Yeah, Emma Frost, January Jones as Emma Frost, should have been the villain in that over Cassandra Nova. But what are you gonna do? Disney's being Disney. A prime example of that being hot and being a badass female character don't have to be mutually exclusive. Fully agree, John Smith. The women are hot and they're also badass. They do have agency. They are competent. Angel makes her choice willingly to join the dark side, so she was definitely not having any man tell her what to do. Mystique, really awesome. She does choose her own path and basically gives up on Charles deciding her future. Really, she should get credit for that. It works somehow for Lex Luthor. All of Fassbender's German hunting scenes I love. Terrifyingly badass sense of justice. Yeah, you are on Magneto's side. I mean, he's killing Nazis, so no one's gonna shed any tears for them. And Magneto is really hardcore. It's basically the start of his villain arc, and it does make sense. We see Magneto doing justified things at the start until as the movie goes on he undergoes a lot of changes and starts doing more immoral things. Like, for somebody who cares about mutant kind, he has no qualms hurting the Hellfire Club and killing other mutants. Need to catch up on the Superman comics. Yeah, I haven't read those for a long time. So no, Sunfire, no, they did not get him until, unfortunately, the New Mutants. The Japanese mutant. I thought he was from South America. Also, another favorite scene here is how Raven changed her eye color when Charles encountered another woman who had green and blue eyes. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, you have two irises too. And yeah, it's her shape-shifting acting up because Raven is very emotional. Or Firestar, the first Spider-Man and his amazing friends who became an X-Men. Yeah, I'm sad Firestar never appeared in any superhero live-action movies. Darwin's death was not well done. He's supposed to be able to survive anything. Okay, yeah, Darwin has one of the most infamous scenes where, of course, the token black guy on the team with the coolest powers is the one who dies first. He gets killed by Sebastian Shaw, and kind of like weird, he like shoves this energy in his mouth. I believe the idea is Darwin's trying to adapt to keep himself alive, but he just can't keep up with the lethal energy. Like he shoves the havoc energy beam inside of him. Darwin's body is trying to mutate to survive the energy, but it's just too much for him. It keeps overwhelming him, and his adaptations can't keep up. And that ultimately kills him and disintegrates him. It's kind of more of a mystical, kind of sci-fi death, but I can see why people didn't like it. Especially because Darwin had really cool powers. He can adapt to anything, but couldn't adapt to surviving lethal energy. Since I see why DC brings Starfire on the scene, but Marvel only shows 2 appearances, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Okay. Also, Mystique was in a Burger King commercial. Isn't she a teenager or early 20s? He's like late 30s to 40s. Michael Fassbender was in his early 30s, okay? It's not weird. She's an adult, man. Or a woman, whoever you are. And the scales cover her just enough to satisfy the MPAA. Yeah, I love that. Mystique's, her chameleon scales censor all the naughty bits. The film also gave us the origin on how Raven chose to be naked. Yeah, it did. And it makes sense. Another huge positive I love in First Class is the soundtrack, especially Magneto's theme. Yeah, the music in this really kicks ass. It is epic, it is magical, it's wonderful. Love the montage scene of the X-Men training. It is classic superhero origin story stuff, and it sounds good, it looks good, it is fun. I'll be vague since it's fairly new, but the way we find out how Ross became president in Captain 4 kind of worked in that way. Not even gonna watch Captain America 4 because I saw the images of the leader. I've been at the mercy of men just following orders. Never again. I know we had our differences. Where's your telepath friend? Gone. Left a gap in my life. If I were to be honest, I was hoping you would fill it. Join us. Eric, I believe. I prefer Magneto. Yeah, really fun scene. I wish the outfit looked better. The devil horns on the Magneto helmet looked really goofy. Sunfire, oh, you mean Sunspot. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, my mistake. He was in Days of Future Past as one of the future mutants. But yeah, young Sunspot was in New Mutants. One of the better characters behind Magic. Oh, Magic was a bitch in that movie, guy. Hi, hey Axel. Darwin is immortal too in the comics. They did him so dirty in First Class. Yeah, basically he gets killed to show you how dangerous the Hellfire Club is. Wait, what movie are you on? We're still on First Class. Does this include the Deadpool movies? Yes, it does. You can see Deadpool's right here, all the way to Wolverine and Deadpool, so we can end on a high note instead of the New Mutants. Yeah, we are okay. Just catching up with chat. Okay, so the final act in this movie, exactly like The Last Stand, epic. They summon Sebastian Shaw's submarine is ripped out of the water. The Hellfire Club and the X-Men have their first epic superhero fight, and it is fun, it is suspenseful, it kicks ass. And we see all the X-Men shine. Mystique uses her shapeshifting to fool Azazel. We see Havoc knocks out Angel Salvador, and they take out Riptide. And we get the famous scene where they successfully knock off the telepathy block helmet off of Sebastian Shaw, and Magneto does the coin scene, where he has a coin that the Nazis forced him to move for one of their experiments, and he uses it to give Sebastian Shaw his ironic comeuppance. And yeah, really kick-ass, really brutal, savage, scary villain scene. Sebastian Shaw is paralyzed by Professor X's telepathy, and Magneto shoves the coin through his skull with his magnetism to basically headshot him to death. I'm going to move this coin with my mind at the count of 3. And yeah, he makes sure Sebastian Shaw suffers. We unfortunately don't see Kevin Bacon acting out the death. We see James McAvoy, who feels Sebastian Shaw's pain as he's dying, but really intense kick-ass villain scene, and pretty much triggers Magneto's start of darkness. He agrees with Sebastian Shaw's views, but ultimately hates him because he took his family away. And yep, Sebastian Shaw gets a brutal death, gets crucified by Magneto, and Magneto takes over as the villain. The Russians and the US panic, and they see Magneto's rise to power. They fire missiles upon all the mutants, but Magneto uses his magnetism, turns their own guns against them, and tries to kill all the world militaries. However, Professor X stops him, but in the struggle, Professor X ends up getting shot, and the bullet hits his spine, paralyzing him. Yeah, this is how Professor X lost his legs. He got hit by a bullet wound. Magneto rips the bullet out with his magnetism and tries to save Professor X because he was his one true friend. However, ultimately, Professor X tells Magneto that they're not friends anymore. They have the famous beach divorce scene where they're no longer best friends and they can't see eye to eye. Yeah, Xavier felt all the pain. That is true. Sunfire's underrated, and he never shows up in the Fox X-Men. Okay, thank you for that. Do you consider Wade an X-Man? Well, he was in Deadpool 2, even if temporarily. Well, I guess that's the origin of how Magneto got his helmet. Yeah, that kind of is. Sebastian Shaw's helmet, it blocks telepathy powers, and Magneto basically takes it as like a kill trophy, which, yeah, makes sense. I didn't think so. It would be cool to see him in live action. Okay. Like what happened to Angel in the X-Men movies? Well, unfortunately, Days of Future Past basically killed off most of the Hellfire Club. Yeah, apparently Magneto's new goons all die. Emma Frost, Angel Salvador, Azazel, and Riptide, they all died off screen in between movies for Days of Future Past, which total cop-out. It is stupid. It is bullcrap. But I guess because they had so many characters, they decided to get rid of a few. But yeah, Magneto takes over the Hellfire Club remnants. And Mystique joins the dark side because Michael Fassbender is hotter and loves her because she's blue. Yeah, Mystique basically turns evil because she wanted to get laid. It's kind of funny when you think about it that way, but yeah, Magneto taught her to be mutant and proud, and basically the evil mutants leave. Professor X is left crippled, but the X-Men save him. So we get another classic bittersweet ending. The mutants saved the world, defeated the villain, saved the day, but now Magneto is the new villain of the saga. Professor X is crippled and in a wheelchair, and tension between the mutants and humans is now going to get worse before it gets better by the 2000s timeline. So, and, oh yeah, post-credit scene where Magneto shows up and breaks Emma Frost out of prison, where they do nothing with Emma Frost later. But yeah, this story, this is cool. X-Men First Class is epic. It is a great first-class superhero story. The mutants are kick-ass. It captures the wonder of Marvel. It does a very good job introducing the X-Men for newbies if you didn't watch the 2000s movie. The casting is pretty good. Jennifer Lawrence is actually great as Mystique in this movie. Not so much moving forward, but yeah. And it is a very kick-ass origin behind both the ultimate hero and villain of X-Men. Professor X is on his way to becoming the ultimate hero leader of the X-Men, and Magneto is their ultimate villain now. It is very great. It is like Transformers 1 great. Banshee also died. Oh, that's right, I forgot. They killed off most of the cast in First Class, which honestly I did not like about Days of Future Past, but we'll be getting to that. Yeah, they all somehow died. I call bullshit on Emma Frost dying, though. That girl was, like, super powerful and has her diamond form. I guess someone did finally give her a tap and she shattered. Death Battle Magneto versus Tatsushima Akira anime A Slow Death. Wait, how did he die? Banshee, he died off screen. Basically, the government is now hunting mutants, and in Days of Future Past, they eliminate most of the First Class cast. I think, like, only 4 of the original cast members are still around. Professor X, Magneto, Beast, and Mystique. They're the only mutant characters still alive. Havoc too, but Havoc dies later. Banshee apparently died off screen during an X-Men mission, and it sent Professor X into a depression, which we'll get to next movie. But yeah, First Class, it is good. It is a master of magnet. Yeah, sadly, Wolverine's next. No, this is the Wolverine. We already did Origins Wolverine. Which, yeah, don't get me wrong, confusing title. The Wolverine, taking place after the events of The Last Stand. We get to Hugh Jackman's second solo movie, and it is slightly better than Origins Wolverine, but ultimately I don't think it's one of the greatest X-Men entries. So, might upset a few people, but The Wolverine going into Silver Cinema. Yeah, I thought it was okay. It has a lot of bad stuff and really stupid moments, and yeah, Bodhi, I agree, they bastardized Madam Hydra / Madam Viper so awful in this movie, and Silver Samurai was done dirty. He looks like a giant Decepticon in this. Okay, this is the story where Wolverine goes to Japan to find himself. After the events of The Last Stand, Logan is suffering PTSD from having to murder the Phoenix. He's having nightmares of Jean Grey. Famke Janssen has cameos in this, and really still looks really hot after all this time. Yeah, she looks hot. Her ghost is haunting her, so Wolverine goes to Japan to find himself. The movie shows the origin of the Silver Samurai. Wolverine was a World War II soldier who was a POW in Japan back in World War II thanks to his, ageless factor. He was there held prisoner, and we see the Silver Samurai when he was a young rookie soldier. They were going to be nuked by the atomic bomb, and Wolverine used his powers to help save this Japanese soldier. He took basically the brunt of the bomb. They hid inside like this well they used to torture Wolverine. They dived down before the nuclear bomb hit, and he saw Wolverine get burned by the nuke only to heal himself and basically kind of shrug off all that radiation and atomic bomb energy. Wolverine showed that he was immortal, and this awoken something in this Japanese soldier who became obsessed with immortality. This is the Silver Samurai. Years later, the Silver Samurai basically like sends a letter inviting Wolverine over to Japan to make peace with him because he claims he's dying and he wants to help his best friend Wolverine lose his immortality. Wolverine has grown tired of like living forever. He's suffering basically kind of borderline suicidal depression, and this guy offers to help Wolverine, but secretly the Silver Samurai wants to steal Wolverine's immortality for himself to become a 1,000-year-old immortal just like Logan. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, this movie, I think it's okay. Definitely a mixed bag of good and bad. The hero characters are good, the villains not so much. Yeah. So, Wolverine's side of the story is the best part. Wolverine falls in love with this Japanese girl and her friend. I think this is the girl that Negasonic Teenage Warhead dates, like this weird Japanese mutant girl. So basically, Wolverine falls in love with this princess, and they have kind of a cute star-crossed lovers romance. Wolverine gains a second love. He's dating like the Silver Samurai's granddaughter, I believe. The daughter's supposed to inherit the company after the Silver Samurai kicks the bucket. However, we find out there's a villain scheme at play here. There's a mystery going on. There's a second character who we're led to believe is the Silver Samurai. It's the love interest is like ex-boyfriend who's like this ninja master. He's the real Silver Samurai, or one of the legacy characters in the comics. Silver Samurai is a legacy character. He passed the mantle on to like 3 people, and there's like 3 different guys who could be the Silver Samurai villain. Seeing Wolverine holding a weapon just feels weird. Yeah, it kind of did, especially because he is a weapon. Like, why kill the mutants? Like, why not putting them in a mutant zoo like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Twilight Zone does? Akira, to answer that question, that is kind of the scheme of the villain Mojo. Mojo does take mutants and puts them in, like, exhibits, but he's using them for, like, a show. It would have been better if they went with the Havoc route minus the Later's death, yeah. To think that Charles and Eric got their names as jokes. Yeah, you should be Professor X and you're Magneto. Mystique was such a woman child. It's like she's actually the same age as them, but because she has like the power to change her appearance, she looks a lot younger. Seeing Wolverine holding a weapon just feels weird. Yeah, it does. Doesn't he use them in the comics? Yeah, he does. Also, Silver Samurai's design looks like what Shredder live action should have been. Yeah, big CGI samurai armor. The funniest moment in that film is when Wolverine and that Japanese woman mistakenly went to a Japanese love hotel. Yeah, that kind of is. I also like the fight scene on the bullet train. Wolverine fights ninjas in this movie. The Silver Samurai has like ninja assassins doing a lot of the dirty work. Basically, Wolverine loses his immortality and his healing factor. We find out that the Silver Samurai nerfed Wolverine's powers. He did like a surgery on him that made him immortal. Wolverine can now get hurt and die, and that is where a lot of the tension is. Wolverine cannot heal from injuries fast. He can feel pain, and he can basically be mortal like everyone else. We find out there's like a weird cyborg bug thing implanted on his heart or something. It is kind of weird, but they use like a lot of kooky Japanese anime science. Like, Wolverine has been depowered, and there's an assassination attempt on the Silver Samurai's granddaughter, his love interest. Wolverine and her basically team up to solve the mystery and what's going on, but slowly fall in love. She's like Wolverine's second love, and basically the girl undergoes kind of her own like identity crisis. She is done with having like her family decide what to decide for her. She's done being her grandfather's pawn. She has an abusive dad who's using her to control the company. We're led to believe the abusive dad is the real villain because he's a douchebag and he's clearly corrupt. Ultimately, Wolverine and the Japanese mutant, he has like 2 Japanese girls. There's his love interest, and there's this mutant Japanese assassin girl. She's the foster sister of his love interest. Ultimately, they perform a deadly surgery on him. The love interest gets abducted by the ninja assassins. They remove the nerfing bug out of Wolverine's heart, and Wolverine is back and has a cool kick-ass samurai showdown with the abusive dad, where he gives the abusive dad his comeuppance and he dies. What the hell are you? I'm the Wolverine. And he slashes him and gives him a dishonorable death. And they team up to fight the Silver Samurai, who was working with Madam Viper. Madam Viper badly butchered in this. She's this weird poison ivy snake woman, and I agree, Bodhi, they did not do her justice. So, I heard without the healing factor, Wolverine extending his claws would be extremely painful. Yeah, it is. He felt pain doing that in the first movie, though. I forgot about that, definitely. Well, yeah, that's basically the plot of Logan. So unpopular opinion about the X-Men origin, seeing Wade as a normal person was a little funny. Actually, that's not unpopular, Axel. I and everyone agreed. Ryan Reynolds was good as Wade Wilson, but when he became the mutant test subject is where all the love died. He cares more for immortality than continuation of his legacy. Yeah, that is the Silver Samurai's plot. So, basically, the Silver Samurai, he's a coward, a backstabber. He doesn't want to die. He wants to live forever, and he brought Wolverine here to basically kill him and drain him of his mutant immortality. Live forever and become the ultimate Silver Samurai, and he does not care about, like, his legacy. He betrayed his son, the abusive dad, and we do see the abusive dad goes nuts because he's left with nothing. The abusive dad dies. Wolverine and the mutant Japanese girl team up where they raid the Silver Samurai's temple. We get that kick-ass ninja fight scene with the iconic comic shot of where all the ninjas throw spears and ropes and lasso in Wolverine. It was pretty cool seeing that in live action, not gonna lie. Wolverine gets captured, and we find out Madam Viper is working for the Silver Samurai. Spoilers, it's the granddad who's still alive. He's hooked up to like this weird Decepticon shredder kind of armor, and it's keeping him alive, but also giving him a Japanese iron suit. And we get a big epic fight scene where Wolverine storms the castle, has a final showdown with the Silver Samurai, and it's kind of a mixed bag. It's like, I love Wolverine and Silver Samurai's fights in the cartoons. In the movie, the bad CGI Decepticon thing looks very weird and out of place, even in an X-Men movie. It is pretty brutal how it can cut through Wolverine's claws. The samurai armor is made of adamantium, like in the comics, so his claws can't slice through it easily, and the blade can actually take out Wolverine's bone claws. We see he almost drains Wolverine of his immortality. However, the love interest stands up for herself and kills her evil granddad, the Silver Samurai. She stabs him in the neck, and he loses his immortality. It goes back to Wolverine, and the Silver Samurai dies, falling off the temple, complete disgraced and dishonored, revealing that he was evil all along. The Wolverine movie beats Michael Bay's TMNT. Yeah, it does. The Parasite. I dare you to tell Deadpool to say this. Say your name with replace L with P. Dead Lul? Don't get it. The post-credit scene retcons The Last Stand. Actually, it doesn't, because we do see in The Last Stand, Magneto did have powers. They were not fully gone. The thing is, he got his powers back by the time of this movie. Pogan. Don't get it. Like, why Madam Viper become bald? Like, why not change her hair green? I believe the idea was Madam Viper's supposed to be a snake woman because, you know, she's the leader of the Serpent Society. It's not very good. She looks like Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy until she goes bald. She has the power to, like, shed her skin and has a snake tongue. It's really stupid and did not make her hot. Yeah, let's just say Mystique's chameleon mode way hotter. No, tell Deadpool that. Wouldn't it make more sense if the ex-boyfriend would have been the Silver Samurai and the old Japanese man was like a supportive grandfather to his granddaughter and the father would be the ex-boyfriend? Yeah, the roles should have been kind of shifted around, but they wanted a big twist that surprised the old guy was the Silver Samurai, and they do imply the armor is like just an iron suit, so it does explain how he has the abilities and why he could kick Logan's ass, but kind of weird. It would have made sense if the ex-boyfriend was the Silver Samurai, but no, they wanted a big twist. So basically, X-Men tries to be Demon Slayer anime, but the mutant powers that beating the technique, yeah. And obsessed with immortality or killing his daughter to take over the company. Yeah, he was evil. So much better than Miraculous Shanghai Special. Bro, anything's better than that. CinemaSins. I don't know much about the Silver Samurai from the comics, but everyone I know who loves the Silver Samurai hates this movie for what it did to the Silver Samurai. Yeah, that is an accurate. That is accurate there, John Smith. Yeah, that's dumb. So I hope Miraculous World Tokyo could have Silver Samurai version in Miraculous. Hopefully. Deadpool, you mean dead poop? Realization. Yeah, Cassandra dealt with baldness much better. Yeah, she looked way hotter. Anyways, they defeat the Silver Samurai. The ex-boyfriend dies in a heroic sacrifice, saving his ex-girlfriend. The ex-girlfriend and Wolverine, they have sex one last time, but ultimately have separate paths. The love interest decides to take over the company and restore honor to her clan after all the evil guys who destroyed it. The mutant Japanese girl is now happy with herself, gives a friendship hug with Wolverine too. Wolverine had two sexy Japanese ladies kick ass with him and decides that he's finally at peace. Wolverine finds himself, gets his powers back, and decides he does appreciate life after all. Where Wolverine goes back and actually we get a happy ending. Wolverine overcame his PTSD and the Japanese girls lived happily ever after, becoming rich CEOs. And Japan is safe from the threat of the Silver Samurai. However, we get our post-credit scene where he arrives at the airport where Magneto shows up. Magneto has his powers back. No, it is not a retcon. The last stand-in show, he did have his powers still at the end of the movie. We do see he had some powers. They were just nerfed. They were taken away from him temporarily, but Magneto's back in full force, and Professor X is alive. He fully transferred his mind in that coma patient, I guess, and they revealed that they teamed up because they need Wolverine's help for a new threat. Introducing us to Days of Future Past. Pretty amazing post-credit scene at the time. Yeah, I do agree. It was a pretty cool scene. Really nice scene. Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart's Professor X alive. So anyways, the Wolverine, I have mixed thoughts about it. I do think it's okay. It is by no means awful. It is not a bad movie. It has its fun moments. Hugh Jackman knocks it out of the park. I do like the pretty Japanese ladies. The Silver Samurai, he was ruined, and Madam Hydra also ruined. The villains are the worst part of this movie, and I do think the story's not as intriguing as the old X-Men movies. There's a lot more kind of old-fashioned Japanese folklore kind of superhero story, but mixed with a lot of Western cliches and tropes. The villains were done dirty in this movie, and I don't think it's all that memorable. I do think it's kind of one of the forgettable chapters. I mean, a lot of people forget this movie even exists, but honestly, I think it's okay. Just like the Silver Samurai, it is a silver medal. We'll put it on Silver Cinema for sure. But now let's get to one of the movies everyone's been looking forward to, X-Men Days of Future Past. Like no Japanese mutants in the Wolverine, there is one Akira, but her powers are not very unique or interesting. But he looks different. Did he have a comatose twin / doppelganger? That was apparently a fan theory that Professor X possessed like his vegetable brother. Definitely the two hottest Japanese ladies I've ever seen in a movie. I really liked that one Quicksilver scene. Also, Bald Viper feels like the word in the SpongeBob movie. My eyes! Alright, so, Days of Future Past, aka the time travel one, the story with the Sentinels. Yeah, we finally got the Sentinels and the ultimate attack on mutant rights, the creation of the Sentinel Army, who lead to a post-apocalyptic future where machines have destroyed the Earth and killed all life. And basically, Wolverine sent back in time to the prequel X-Men era to prevent the Sentinels from being made and causing the bad future. So, might upset some people, but X-Men Days of Future Past going into Extreme. Yeah, I really wanted to like this one. There are great moments, there are good scenes, there's a lot of kick-ass action, the special effects are at their peak perfection in this. However, I do think it does pack an equal amount of flaws. Like, is Bishop there? Yes, Bishop is in here. Best X-Men ever. So despite some setbacks like the ending up killing many mutants off scene from the first class, Days of Future Past is still pretty good. The most intense scene of Days of Future Past, when we see Magneto appearing aside with Wolverine and Charles. You know the situation is dire when the villains team up with the heroes. But they did that in X-Men 2, guy. They did that in X-Men 2 also, and there was tension there. Like, I made Bunny's first X-Men opponents Bishop for Death Battle. Wasn't it originally Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat? Yeah, depending on what cut you have, Kitty Pryde has the power to send Wolverine back in time, where his mind possesses his past self. It's very weird, but it's a superhero movie, whatever. They do change this in the Rogue cut, and yeah, I really wish the Rogue cut was the canon one. I agree with Bodhi. The Rogue cut is the real good version of this film. You don't quite agree, but Extreme is the lowest tier I'll accept it at. Okay. Sorry, I do think there are some flaws. Namely, half the first class cast is gone. They killed off all of Magneto's followers except for Mystique, and Banshee, one of the best X-Men from the first class movie, is killed off screen. Banshee died, and Professor X's school has gone completely under. It epic failed. Professor X is in his depression mode. He is sad, wallowing in misery. Professor X, the young one, James McAvoy, became a drug-addicted loser and did not like that portrayal, and I do not like Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique from this movie onward. I do think Jennifer Lawrence really started phoning it in this movie. But the situation was dire because of the Sentinels and Magneto team up with Charles was intense. Hey, Wolf Entertainment, my bro, what's up? Hey, Connor, we're ranking X-Men movies. We finally made it to Days of Future Past, which is going on extreme. I know a lot of people will die hard argue that this belongs on Master of Magnets. It came so close for me, but there are some flaws. What is the Rogue cut? Akira, the Rogue cut is the extended edition for Days of Future Past. It's basically the cut which had Rogue as a central character. They brought Anna Paquin back as Rogue, and she's the one who absorbed Shadowcat's powers to help keep Wolverine in the past longer. The Rogue cut has a lot of deleted scenes, extended scenes, stuff we didn't see in the theatrical release. It is kind of an extended edition. Why is Scarlet Witch not in the X-Men movies? Because the MCU stole her from Fox. Yeah, it was originally Kitty Pryde. Who went back in time, but I guess she wasn't born yet, or was? They keep changing her age. Yeah, Wolverine goes back in time because basically they send like his mind back in his past self because Wolverine is like 1,000 years old, so it makes sense to send him. So what are your thoughts on the Wolverine suit in this movie? Generic. I do like Wolverine and Deadpool actually using his classic suit. Wolverine having black leather, not lame, but kind of generic. Very black and depressing. Well, what were you expecting? Yellow, or no, what would you prefer? Yellow spandex? So, which Quicksilver is better, the MCU one or the Fox one? Easy, the Fox one. Quicksilver is introduced in this movie, and he is so cool. 1,000,000 times better than the other guy who died on Age of Ultron. Yeah, Ralph Boner. Like X-Men Days of Future Past is better than Miraculous World Legend. Okay, whatever. Remember when Quicksilver actor from X-Men movies showed up in WandaVision? Yeah, Ralph Boner. His name was Boner. Would have been great to have him actually MCU Quicksilver, but nope, Disney is stupid. I will say that while the Sentinel designs aren't what we thought, they were like the purple and blue design, and designs were honestly still look good and did pose a threat still. Yeah, so, not a big fan of the Sentinel designs. One, they are not comic accurate. I would prefer the Wolverine and the X-Men Sentinels over these ones, but the Sentinels, they look more robotic. They look like kind of Transformers. And in the future, basically, Mystique gets captured and they use her DNA to make the Sentinels the perfect killing machines. And the Sentinels look like Mystique. And yeah, I do not like their designs in the Machine Wars era. They do not look good. I do not like the weird glitchy scales, how they all walk sensually like Mystique, how they're all assassins. Mystique is treated as kind of the Mary Sue of the X-Men from this point onward. Mystique becomes vital, and as much as I love Mystique, I would have preferred Rebecca Romijn. Here, Jennifer Lawrence tried to give Mystique layers, and they try to turn Mystique into an anti-hero in these movies. It becomes much questionable later, but here it's not super bad. So, Magneto has been arrested off screen. The Hellfire Club were all killed, but he's still alive. He's held in prison. Logan travels back in time to his past self, where he recruits a young Professor X and Beast, who are going through depression. He needs them to become heroes and prevent the dark future where the Sentinels take over and kill all life. They reluctantly team up with Magneto. The villain, technically in this, is Bolivar Trask, the creator of the Sentinels. He's a corrupt government agent who hates mutants, and is trying to sell his Sentinels to the government to hunt down and kill mutant kind. Basically, the government is going to capture Mystique with his Proto-Sentinels and use her mutation DNA to upgrade the Sentinels, which will end up turning them into lethal killing machines who cause the bad future. Fox and MCU are both good, except the death bit. Yeah, they did not do death well. These movies definitely had the better Quicksilver, though. Disney even basically admitted it in WandaVision. Well, what? You weren't expecting that? Yeah, I'll definitely be quoting that Quicksilver. Wolverine and Deadpool was peak. Not at there yet. We are going to end on a high note with that one. Like Firestar feels left out in these X-Men movies. Well, Days of Future Past has a really huge cast. We brought back most of the First Class cast back to be main characters. We brought back all the original trilogy faces, like all of them are here, and we introduced new characters like Bishop and Blink, and Sunspot, I believe, is in this movie, but he's like an expendable soldier. Iceman is back, and basically they killed off most of the First Class characters, and most of the character development, again, goes to Professor X and Magneto. And Mystique, technically. I love Mystique. I'm glad she got more focus, but it was mostly banking off of Jennifer Lawrence's popularity. Worst name to be given to a fictional character? Firestar? Or Bolivar Trask? Quicksilver gave us the famous scene where he saved the guys from the cops and beat up the cops too. Yeah, Quicksilver is awesome. Quicksilver is a big redeeming element in all of these movies, particularly all the way to Dark Phoenix. Quicksilver is awesome. Really like his actor, his energy, and they had so much fun with the super speed power. It looks great. Like, why not use some adamantium as their power source than living mutant powers? Well, because they needed to make Mystique important to the plot. I know of, and the Silver Age comics have very silly names. Yeah, they do. Like the actor is short in X-Men Days of Future Past. Yeah, it's Peter Dinklage is Bolivar Trask. That was very weird, especially because Bolivar Trask is actually a black dude, but yeah, they got like a white little person as him. I liked Peter Dinklage, but he was very weird casting as the Sentinel creator. I guess it was to profit off of his fame from Game of Thrones. Stryker's been a government official was a better retcon than the comics first showed. I was surprised Colonel Stryker wasn't retconned as the creator of the Sentinels, because he's the second biggest villain next to Magneto. I do kind of like how the Days of Future Past Wolverine suit tried to give in some color. Yeah, they did. It was definitely a better attempt. I hope MCU X-Men gets Firestar since she was my childhood love interest. Hopefully Akira, but they're more focused on Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel right now. I don't remember they even had color. The Mystique Sentinel Primes do not, or if you're talking about the X-Men uniforms, yeah, they're mostly black leather. But hey, Halle Berry looks pretty hot in it. Something just hit me about Bishop and Kitty. I get that Bishop would know about Sentinels attacking and making sure that none of them are killed, but it's strange that Kitty would know about this. Yeah, because Kitty's supposed to be older by the future. Not that they doesn't get Keith David as Thrash. Is he said same name as his cousin? Alright, needed some water. Okay, so basically in the future, we see all the X-Men mutants die. The Sentinels are winning. They are overwhelming the X-Men resistance. And yeah, I won't lie, it kind of hurt watching this scene where all my favorite characters from the Good Trilogy die. Magneto dies, some piece of shrapnel actually stabs him. Storm dies, she gets Halo assassinated. I did not like seeing Halle Berry die in the movie. She was my celebrity crush. We see Iceman dies horribly. We see Blink dies. Bishop gets a really brutal death. Like, all the X-Men mutants are dying and losing, and basically it's a final countdown. They recruit Magneto, but Magneto goes against the plan and tries to murder Mystique. He completely gives up on her and, yeah, pretty much killed the Magneto and Mystique ship. He's now trying to kill her because she's now a thorn in his side and a threat to the future. Mystique almost dies. We find out in the timeline, Mystique assassinates Boulevard Trask and the president, and this convinces the government that mutants are irredeemably evil. So they gotta stop Mystique from turning evil, and basically Mystique has a redemption arc. She struggles with her morals. Charles tries to get her on the side of good, get her back to being the good Raven we knew from First Class. Mystique almost kills the president, but ultimately turns good. But Magneto ultimately becomes the main villain. He turns the Sentinels against them with his magnet powers, and has the Sentinels go on a rampage. He brings the Chicago Coliseum down on, like, the president's White House, and traps them in an arena with the Sentinels, where the Sentinels try to shoot President Nixon and Boulevard Trask. Magneto almost kills the President Nixon himself, but Mystique changes her mind and has a change of heart where she saves the day and she cripples Magneto, proving that mutants are good this time because a mutant saved the president from the evil Magneto. Which, yeah, actually made things better in the future. This did change the X-Men timeline and was supposed to justify all the weird retcons and continuity. Unfortunately, the later sequels would ruin them again. But yeah, mutants prove to be good. Mystique becomes an anti-hero, saves the day. Charles was right. Logan ultimately loses his self in the timeline. He gets summoned back to the future. Just when the Sentinels are about to win and kill everyone, they fix the timeline. The Sentinels are erased. The government realizes the Sentinels are a mistake because mutants are people too. And Boulevard Trask is arrested off screen because apparently he was selling secrets to the Russians. Kind of a weird cop-out, but whatever. And they still try to kill mutants. She's not the best material, but gotta give credit to the actress playing Kamala Khan. She's giving it all she can. I have not watched a single episode of Miss Marvel because it is not for me. Like Marrow, Polaris, and Chamber isn't there since they underrated X-Men mutants. Yeah, they couldn't squeeze in everyone. Give them a break, Akira. They have like 50 mutants in this. What shocked me is that they even said that JFK was a mutant and Eric tried to save him. That would have been funny to see, honestly. Yeah, even when I first saw it, I was thinking, wouldn't the Sentinels absorbing Rogue's powers make more sense? Yeah, that does. Since, you know, the one that absorbs powers, but it wasn't lore-breaking for me. Yeah, it would have made more sense, but they wanted to make Mystique an important part of the X-Men universe, which I understand. Mystique's the hot badass chick, so I do not blame these movies for giving Mystique a lot more spotlight. However, the direction they took the character in is where the problems arose. The soundtrack was pretty good too. That's impossible to find the film versions of all the Sentinel attacks themselves. I listen to the release versions constantly. Yeah, the music's pretty good. I think First Class and X-Men 2 are a bit better, but yeah. She's not in the best material. Okay, Kamala Khan. And they still try to kill the mutants. Well, yeah, that would ruin the plot. I know it's implied that Charles and Eric had slept with Raven, and it makes you wonder if they really loved her so they didn't use protection. Well, Azazel didn't use protection, Anime Night, and that made Nightcrawler. And Cannonball and Moonstar get forget in the X-Men movies. Yeah, they did kind of dump a lot of characters out and never came back. So how will the MCU handle Magneto since both of his children are dead? They do imply Wanda's coming back in Secret Wars. I would just say they'd retcon this Quicksilver into the main timeline. Wouldn't that make JFK's assassination an inside job in this franchise? Yeah, it would. In the Kitsune, Polaris was in The Gifted X-Men show, and she was pretty well done. Yeah, sorry, the shows, The Gifted and Legion are not on here, which I'm fine with because I never watched those shows. So sorry, The Gifted and Legion are not in here, only the movies, only the X-Men movies. And also, Mystique posed as Stryker to give past Wolverine the adamantium treatment, plus we also get a glimpse of Apocalypse. That got me excited for the next movie, but yeah, we all know how Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse turned out. Yeah, Barf. Okay, so you get the idea. They save the timeline, and Wolverine comes back to the present where everyone's alive and well, including characters who died. Cyclops and Jean Grey are also alive still. They basically made a better timeline. They retconned all of X-Men 2 and X-Men Last Stand, and all the X-Men are alive and happy for sequels they never got, and basically it was a way to fix the mistakes of The Last Stand that people did not like. Basically, it's a way to fix the continuity. X-Men movies have bad continuity, and they got worse in the later sequels. They broke it all over again, but yeah. The timeline's fixed, the Sentinels don't exist, Boulevard Trask is arrested and thrown into political prison, Magneto gets recaptured, Mystique turns good, she poses as Colonel Stryker and helps save Wolverine. And the X-Men are now back. Professor X is now fully out of his depression. Really love the epic scene of Professor X meeting his future self, Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy. Really knocked it out of the park. They give this tearful scene about not giving up hope, fighting for what's right, and combating his depression. Professor X is now happy again and decides to reopen his school for the gifted and become the Professor X we all know and love. And the timeline is saved until we get a post-credit scene revealing Apocalypse is on the way, played by Oscar Isaacs, and yeah, we all know how that's gonna turn out, but yeah, this movie, I do think it's fine. I think it's extreme. I liked a lot of it, but there were also some flaws to it. They kill off all the Hellfire Club, get rid of a lot of the good characters from First Class. Did not like the scene where the Sentinels mow down all my favorite X-Men. I really liked them. I did not want to see them die brutally. I know it's a happy ending, they're all alive and it never happened, but seeing your childhood heroes getting butchered by psychotic robot villains, not a fun visual. And I do think Jennifer Lawrence's acting as Mystique started getting weaker in this movie. Now, Jennifer Lawrence is a good actress. However, by this point, it became clear she did not like being an X-Men anymore, and Mystique had some very iffy emotional moments. I love that the Fox X-Men made Mystique important because she's my favorite character, mostly because of Rebecca Romijn. Jennifer Lawrence, no. But I like Mystique, and her arc a bit wonky, but it started making Mystique an anti-hero. There are some scratches which hold it back, but I will put it on extreme. This is definitely a good movie, but it did not top the original trilogy in First Class for me. Sorry, catching up on comments. The canon status is kind of confusing anyway. Different people said different things. Yeah, basically, well, it's supposed to be the 1970s in this movie, so Origins of Wolverine should be happening at the same time as this movie does. That is kind of their continuity errors. Do you think that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness doesn't exist? Then will Wanda live and teams up with Magneto? I do not like Multiverse of Madness, and Professor X's death in that was his worst. Better not show America Chavez. Yeah, America Chavez is not even a character. She's a plot device. Until it somehow gets retcons again. Yeah, we'll get ruined in later sequels. But thankfully, we're on Deadpool next before the storm hits. Oscar Isaacs was better as Miguel O'Hara than Apocalypse. He was better as Poe Dameron than Apocalypse. Doesn't last long, though, because all the future characters die again in Logan. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, thanks, Logan, for crapping all over that happy ending. Jennifer Lawrence and Hugh Jackman never interacted either outside of a great deleted scene. I was talking about Legion and the Gifted. Yeah, sorry, Legion and the Gifted are not on here. I do know that they had some of the mutants who never made it into the movies, namely Professor X's evil son, Legion, and Polaris is in the Gifted. Okay, so yeah, you get the idea. Days of Future Past is a good movie. It's a fun movie. It incorporates a lot of love for the X-Men. Has some flaws that I think people overlook, and it did not help that the happy endings keep getting overridden next movie, but I will say this is definitely one you look forward to. This franchise had a really bright future, and this was definitely a huge speck of hope among the X-Men saga. And speaking of hope, we finally get to Deadpool, which I will talk about after a bathroom break, but feel free to post in the comments below, did Deadpool win you back to the X-Men saga and redeem him, or do you find it as a stupid comedy? BRB. Mr. Wilson, you pissed yourself while you were unconscious. Are Deadpool suits CGI? His eye holes on the mask are, but his bodysuit, no, Ryan Reynolds did really wear that. Before Doctor Strange 2, I thought her father was Magneto. Wanda's dad is Magneto, but the Fox and Disney had a copyright dispute over the characters. Deadpool movie, a movie that exists, and he had a happier life until his wife died, and he thought his kids died. Never watched them. Yeah, we are counting the Deadpool movies because Deadpool is an X-Men character, and he does meet the X-Men. Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead are in this movie, and they are X-Men. So why don't you want to see Peter and Wade talk to each other in the MCU? You mean Peter Parker? I do want to see them talk. I think so. The renaissance of R-rated comic book movies begins. Yes, internet, I know there was some before it, but there are some that wouldn't have been rated R if not for Deadpool. That's just what I mean. Okay. Ajax actor, Ed Skrein, he's on Game of Thrones, which I don't watch. Deadpool, Captain Deadpool. Just Deadpool. Okay, Ryan Reynolds came back in Deadpool after saving it from the idiots who thought it was a good idea to sew his mouth shut, and gives a proper origin and adventure for Deadpool. The merc with a mouth, the fourth wall breaking, goofy comedy super anti-hero. Deadpool, yeah, going into Master of Magnet, of course he is. Sorry, he's not gonna beat X-Men 2 or First Class for me, but those were serious movies, that's why. Deadpool, yeah, it's awesome. Of course it is. Ryan Reynolds finally got to be in a good Deadpool movie. After how awful Origins Wolverine screwed him up, he actually came back and got full control over making the movie, and lo and behold, a comic-accurate Deadpool was awesome. Peter Parker? That's who I thought you were talking about. Also, Weasel's in Deadpool movie. Better than James Gunn's Weasel. Okay. I don't like how they forced Wade's mutation in place that wasn't involved with the Weapon X program. Thanks, Origins Wolverine, but the first film is still solid. Yeah, Gina Carano is Angel Dust, the sexy she-go villain hench girl. Could you see anybody else playing the role of a live-action Deadpool? Nolan North. If Nolan North does more live action, I could see him as Deadpool. My first introduction to Deadpool was Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. This, I actually saw him in one of those animated movies. I think Wolverine, versus the Weapon X program. Nolan North was Deadpool in that. The introduced me to Gina Carano before The Mandalorian did. Yeah, Gina Carano is like the villain's sexy, badass hench girl. Okay, so, not gonna lie, the worst things about Deadpool's movies, all three of them, his villains kind of suck. The villain is a guy named Leslie Ajax. Yeah, he makes fun of his name. He's got a girl's name. Leslie Ajax. He's this corrupt scientist. They do differ from the comics. He's not a part of the Weapon X program. Ajax is this corrupt back alley doctor who wants to turn Deadpool into a super soldier by basically giving him brutal mutations. Ajax is kind of the villain, and he's the weakest part of the movie because he's kind of forgettable. Basically, we see Deadpool's origin. They do differ from the comics. He's not in the Weapon X program. It is this back alley doctor trying to turn Wade into a super soldier. But eventually, Deadpool finally breaks out. He's dying of cancer, went to Ajax to cure his cancer, and where he got immortality, but Ajax is a corrupt guy who uses him for illegal activities and as a test subject for mutations. Ajax mutates Wade into a super weapon, and then Wade breaks out, destroys the factory, it all burns down, but Ajax ends up getting away, where Deadpool vows revenge. It is a revenge movie. Deadpool is turned into this super weird, hyperactive, fourth wall breaking mutant monster. He's got burnt skin. He looks like an avocado who had angry sex with another avocado. Wants revenge on Ajax. He was dating the very sexy Black Canary Morena Baccarin. Yeah, she's the love interest in this movie, and Morena's very hot. She's pretty hot in real life. So, basically, Ajax ruined his life. It's kind of Darkman-esque. Wade is a deformed man who can't return to normalcy and basically loses himself to this super anti-hero persona. Wade used to be a merc before he got cancer. He was doing like jobs, like low-level jobs, helping people on the streets, getting rid of like bad boyfriends, hurting people for others, helping like dealers and whatnot. Basically, Wade gets involved in this and he turns into Deadpool, where he uses his limited connections and limited budget to save the day, where Wade kind of struggles with his identity. He teams up with Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, fights Ajax, undergoes a bit of an identity crisis. He's not sure if he wants to be Deadpool until by the end of the movie. Don't make me ask twice. Francis, okay. Where's Francis? He made me ask twice. So Origins again, if it was made by the main character. Yeah, Wade is the main character, and actually a million times better than Origins Wolverine. They do make fun of that. A lot of meta humor. It does grasp the Deadpool humor very well. Deadpool is winking to the audience, breaking the fourth wall. They are well aware they're in a superhero movie. Wade has a lot of funny jokes. He's basically a troll. That's what makes Deadpool funny. He's an immature troll man-child who likes screwing around, doing stupid things, getting into weird slapstick body horror on par with the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It is hilarious. It's everything She-Hulk Attorney at Law wishes it was. Deadpool is rude, crass, immature, and we love every second of him. This one does make fun of it. It does have a low budget. We do see more of Deadpool's sword action. He did have guns, but he couldn't afford too many bullets because that would go over budget. A lot of kick-ass fun action scenes. Francis, that was his name, Francis Ajax. He's the villain. He has Gina Carano as his superhuman enforcer. Gina Carano's Angel Dust is basically She-Go. Basically She-Go, but with a wrestler bod. Colossus is in this, and he actually gets to do something. Sadly, I don't think they got the guy from X-Men 2 and 3 back as Colossus, but he actually looks pretty good. He's in his metal form all movie. He's kind of the do-gooder, kind of a Captain America heroic hero. He wants to convince Wade to become a good guy. They team up to defeat Ajax. Ajax takes the girl hostage. Vanessa, that was her name. Vanessa is being held prisoner and he threatens to kill her if Wade doesn't surrender. They have a big epic fight scene on like a helicarrier. They fight, explosions, destruction, Wade kicking ass, and ultimately Wade does decide to shoot Ajax. I love after Colossus's soul-stirring speech about heroism and good, Deadpool just shoots Ajax midway through it. My favorite scene in that film where Wade before was hired to kill the pizza guy for stalking the girl. Yeah, that was funny. He's doing like low stuff like that. The setup, not the writing. The only other character I know what the name is Major Monogram. Have you seen the new Daredevil episodes yet, or are you waiting for more? I am waiting for more. I do not trust Disney after they did my girl She-Hulk dirty. Yeah, She-Hulk was the last Disney Plus show I watched, and I didn't even finish it because I really hated Tatiana Maslany as the sexist She-Hulk. I never understood why they canceled the animated Deadpool series. Probably because they were afraid nobody would watch an adult animation superhero program. Yeah, Rick and Morty really showed them how that was stupid, but yeah, they didn't do it. Yeah, they got TJ Miller as Weasel, who played Ranger Jones in the live-action Yogi Bear. Ugh, poor TJ. He was also in Gravity Falls, and he's the doofy guy in Age of Extinction. Yeah, Colossus is in this movie, and they actually made Colossus cool. He has a kick-ass super strength fight with Gina Carano. Of course, Ryan Reynolds is hilarious. There's badass action, really immature, crass humor. It feels exactly like a Deadpool comic. A bit restrained by the budget, but because the movie makes fun of that, it definitely made it more watchable and fun. Ajax, really weak villain, Francis. Eventually, of course, he dies. Deadpool kills him, he saves his girl, and Marina Baccarin proves she's a real one, where she doesn't care that Deadpool's ugly. She still finds him attractive because of all the good he's done. And Deadpool finally becomes the anti-hero we know and love. He decides he likes being a superhero after all, but he's not going to be an X-Men. He's going to do his own thing because Deadpool still doesn't play by the rules, and we get a funny post-credit scene. I think it was a reference to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where Deadpool says, "Don't worry, guys, next sequel we'll have Cable here," hinting at Deadpool's frenemy Cable is going to come next. Yeah, movie awesome. Deadpool is awesome. It recharged R-rated superhero movies. I think the last good R-rated superhero movie we had was, I think, The Crow. I really like The Crow, but Watchmen, not bad, but didn't really break new ground. Deadpool did. This was kind of a game changer. Unfortunately, for better and worse. They did a lot of great things with the R-rated humor, but led to a lot of dumb things like modern MCU humor right now. But Ryan Reynolds knocked it out of the park as Deadpool. The action kicks ass. The comedy is sharp and on point. There's really great action scenes, and the story is simple but very easy to follow. It is a solid introduction to Deadpool. Oh yeah, the end credits. What? You still here? Go home. Oh, I see. You want to get a sneak peek of a sequel? Well, we're gonna have Cable in the next one. Yeah, that was awesome to see. Definitely starts with a bang, but I'm not gonna be a spoiling jackass. Also, Deadpool has a manga that they all meet and defeat Thanos. Okay. Sakura Spider is the Japanese female Spider-Man. Never heard of her. Also, Deadpool's How It Should Have Ended is funny, like he explains the reason of an anti-hero. Yeah, the part where he says, "Why are you still here?" was a Ferris Bueller reference. Okay, that was a reference. I don't remember Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's not one I fully rewatch. Not really a fan of R-rated movies, but they are just not for me. That's fine, Bat-Kid. We all have taste. Deadpool is an acquired taste for sure, but yeah, this movie kicks ass. Deadpool is definitely a master of magnet. I don't think we've had a bad Deadpool movie, so we won't be seeing any down here, but the first one, a solid step and a great introduction to the Merc with a Mouth, which pissed all over that abomination in Origins Wolverine. This movie, it is a solid slice. Unfortunately, it was followed up by the next one, X-Men Apocalypse. Alright, X-Men Apocalypse, going into Clumsy Storm. Yeah, Apocalypse is another mixed bag, and I do think it's weaker than the Wolverine. No, I might bump it up because it did have Olivia Munn as Psylocke. My boy Bodhi will love Psylocke as in this movie, but this is the movie which explores basically the villain Apocalypse. Apocalypse is a conqueror mutant from the past. Apocalypse is a legendary mutant, allegedly the first ever superpowered mutant who wielded his powers. Apocalypse was a dictator back in ancient Egypt who was sealed away, betrayed by his own followers because they didn't want to serve an evil mutant ruling and abusing them forever. Apocalypse has the power has basically a bunch of powers that made him a god. He has super strength. He can do anything to matter. He has the power to read minds. He can grow giant. Apocalypse is basically a demigod. He has great power and uses his mutant powers for evil, and he used that to once rule the earth. However, his followers betrayed him and sealed him away in an Egyptian tomb where he rose again by the time of this film's events. So basically, Apocalypse wants to pick up where he started and take over the world. Basically, he recruits 4 horsemen to do his bidding and literally bring the Apocalypse to the modern world, where the X-Men team up and unite to stop him. And it is kind of a mixed bag. It has some good moments, but it's very slow. A lot of dragged out scenes. It goes on way too long. Apocalypse is not done justice in this movie. Oscar Isaacs looks very ridiculous in the Apocalypse makeup, and honestly, there's not really a main character. This one has Professor X and Mystique back. Mystique is on the lam, becoming an anti-hero helping mutants, and she inadvertently helps Professor X recruit new mutants. Mystique is helping save mutant lives being abused. She's become an anti-hero, and she saves Cyclops, Nightcrawler, and Jean Grey. We meet younger versions of the characters who become new students at Professor X's School for the Gifted and undergo their hero's journey becoming badass mutant superheroes and taking up the mantle for Professor X, becoming his new string of X-Men after the events of Days of Future Past. Of course! I remember Magneto loses his wife and daughter, like I wanted to see her attack the soldiers' army with the animals. Yeah, Magneto loses his kids in this movie. Magneto gave up on villainy. Like Deadpool is better than Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. Yeah, he shot that Green Lantern. X-Men Apocalypse disappointed me so much. Yeah, I was actually looking forward to this. After how awesome Days of Future Past was, and I really loved the First Class cast, I was excited to see them finally take on Apocalypse, and the movie is ultimately generic. It's generic heroes uniting, becoming ultimate superheroes and standing up to this big bad doomsday villain. Apocalypse is not as interesting as he is in the cartoons. He's basically a generic take over the world villain. He has powers as the plot demands, doing whatever he wants. Yeah, ranking of Deadpool only for me from best to not so good is Deadpool and Wolverine in the first and the second. Okay. I remember Magneto loses his wife. Yeah, he did lose her. While it still had some good things, like Magneto still being awesome, and many of the older characters were fine, many of the others, especially with Apocalypse, are a letdown. Yeah, they brought back a lot of the original X-Men. Storm is in this. Olivia Munn is Psylocke, and she looks hot and kicks ass. I did put her high on the waifus list, but ultimately Psylocke does not do as much. They save her for a sequel, which never happened. Angel is back, and did not like that they made him a villain. Yeah, I know Angel was one of the 4 horsemen in the book, but here they made Angel, like, evil at the start. Like, Angel was a evil mutant who hated Nightcrawler because he lost a cage match to him and fully embraced his dark side. And they brought Michael Fassbender's Magneto back. Magneto has basically given up evil. He's gone undercover. He's living on a farm with a simple life with his wife and daughter. Unfortunately, humans discover that Magneto was a mutant because he used his powers to save one of his co-workers' lives, and the co-worker ratted him out. Magneto's exposed as a mutant, and the police try to arrest Magneto. They go in with bows and arrows and wood weapons, so he can't use magnetism. However, when they try to arrest Magneto, his daughter is accidentally shot and wounded, where Magneto busts out that Nazi coin again and starts killing people. Magneto loses his wife and kid and becomes a villain again, killing all the humans, hating them, and Apocalypse has Magneto join him. He uses his dark emotions and tell Magneto he can become a god and no longer hide his gifts and his powers and have the happy life he wants if he helps him enslave all of mankind. And yeah, Magneto joins in. Yeah, Death Battle had Apocalypse killed by Black Adam. Or he killed Black Adam. Okay, good. You already know what I'm going to say about Apocalypse. Olivia Munn's Psylocke is bae. Yeah, Olivia Munn is Psylocke. She is hot as hell. She looks cool. She kicks ass. Olivia Munn actually did try. She knocked it out of the park. The problem is Psylocke didn't get to do much, which is why Psylocke did win points for this. Psylocke, if you don't know, she's the sexy telekinetic ninja mutant girl. She's that hot Asian ninja mutant you see in Marvel Rivals. Psylocke, always hot. She's waifu material, and I do like Olivia Munn as her. I just wish she got more to do, and that was kind of the problem. Psylocke is a side character. Only some of the characters get actual character development. Basically, Professor X decides that he's ready to teach them to become superheroes. Professor X is very protective of his kids. The mansion gets attacked by Apocalypse. They blow it up so he can't use Cerebro. It turns out Apocalypse has stayed alive for 1,000 millennium because he transfers his essence into another mutant. Somebody is sacrificed by his temple. He puts his essence into a new mutant body, and it's supposed to be the most powerful mutant ever, capable of withholding his soul. And that mutant, of course, is Professor X. They storm the X Mansion. Apocalypse abducts their teacher, Professor X, forcing the X-Men to grow up and save their cool teacher. Professor X is almost possessed by Apocalypse. There's a battle in the mind. Professor X does lose his hair from the procedure, which, yeah, really weird, really trippy. Do we really need an explanation for how Professor X lost his hair and went bald? Yeah, he was put into like a mutant machine where Apocalypse tried to force his soul onto him, but yeah. They did bring back Moira McTaggart. She's an ally who helps Professor X and the mutants. Mystique fully decides she's a good girl now. She does want to stay by Professor X's side. She learns she loves her brother. The X-Men are her family, and she wants to be good. They have a big epic fight in, like, I believe Egypt. They're like in the desert again. Apocalypse summoned his Pyramid of Darkness. The X-Men grow up, save the day, have a kick-ass fight scene. The children do inadvertently free Weapon X, which is Wolverine. We finally got to see Hugh Jackman cameo wearing that weird tech helmet he had in the comics. Though, there's something kind of unsettling how he and Jean are gonna form a relationship when Jean is still a teenager in this movie. Magneto, I feel sad. Like, I want Nina to be his daughter, sidekick, but no. Yep, she died. Curse you, melodramatic writing. Yeah, Psylocke in live action, really hot. Still better than Origins Wolverine and Dark Phoenix. Yeah, it is more watchable than those two. Also, Archangel's there, like Angel turned evil. Yeah, he turns evil in the comics, but they did not make him a hero. I liked Angel better in The Last Stand. While he barely did anything there too, he was ultimately a good guy. Here, he's evil and he dies. Wait, wouldn't he be with his family? Did he run away? I'm surprised that in the end Charles was able to get the Sentinel. I thought they were dismantled. I guess they stole the parts for them. Yeah, Psylocke is hot in live action. Olivia Munn looked really cool. Wish she just got to do more. That was the one problem. Also, Storm has a mohawk. Like, why give her a mohawk? Storm with a mohawk was something in the comics. I don't like the look either, but that is comic accurate. It was Storm during her rogue punk days when she was leader of the Morlocks. Would have been completely perfect if only Olivia used a British accent. She was Betsy in the movie. Yeah, she was Betsy Braddock, but she was saved for a sequel which never happened, Bodhi, okay? So Apocalypse didn't have a death seed heart. Eric, I saved your life. No, you ruined my death. Wait, was he trying to die? Yeah, what an ungrateful bastard. Apocalypse was definitely much better in the 90s and Evolution cartoons. Fully agree, Shadowlink. He was cooler and godlike in that. And here, generic take over the world villain. Was kind of funny, this and Deadpool came out in the same year. And in Deadpool, they had the crack about the house blowing up all the time, and they had the explosion in the movie, yeah. Quicksilver was even better when burning the X-Mansion scene. Yeah, Quicksilver has the coolest scene. Quicksilver becomes an X-Man in this, and he helps save literally all the students and heroes when the mansion's about to blow up. We see him super speed in and out there as Sweet Dreams plays, and yeah, exactly like Days of Future Past. It is a badass scene. Unfortunately, Havoc dies. Yeah, Scott's brother Havoc, another one of the first class heroes, he kicks the bucket, got vaporized by the explosion. Yeah, Havoc is killed off, and his death, like, barely affects Cyclops. They should have both the twins team up with the X-Men. Yeah, they should have. And save Magneto, not just Quicksilver. Psylocke should have her own Disney Plus series. She should, but I don't trust Disney. Disney will fuck it up. I mean, look how they did She-Hulk. You think they're gonna have a show about a sexy woman being badass and independent? Or a good show about a strong, independent woman? Yeah, Jubilee is in this, and she barely does anything, too. Okay, so they have the final fight with Apocalypse, and ultimately, Magneto turns good. He helps Apocalypse with his evil plan until Mystique gives a heartfelt speech about family. Magneto decides the X-Men are his friends after all. Angel is the only horseman who dies, which really bullcrap decision. Psylocke gets beaten up and she runs away to be the villain in another sequel, which never happened. And Storm and Magneto both turn good. They break free of Apocalypse's influence, and Jean kills Apocalypse with the Phoenix Force. Yeah, they are going to do the Dark Phoenix again next movie, and it was somehow worse than The Last Stand. Yeah, so Apocalypse gets vaporized by Jean's god powers, and they did it. They saved the day, the Earth is saved, and this time they actually prove that mutants are good because now the government wants to fund the X-Men and make Professor X their ally. Yeah, Professor X is now happy. The students are now X-Men. And yeah, we end with a more hopeful ending about the mutants being good guys, and the X-Men actually get a solid victory in this one. And Mystique's back, Magneto's good, all is well, and they save the world from Apocalypse, and Stan Lee had a cameo watching a rocket go off. Yet this movie, it's a mixed bag. If you like it, that's fine. I don't think it's the worst movie ever, but is kind of a letdown. It's just a lame duck sequel. They had several missteps. Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, completely wasted. They did not make Apocalypse cool in this movie. Jennifer Lawrence basically stopped trying as Mystique. She is not as great in this and not as hot anymore. They kind of started covering her up more, making her less a femme fatale and more like Katniss with blue skin. Professor X has some good moments. He and Moira actually get together in this movie, which was really sweet. There are some good moments. Quicksilver is the highlight. He has another kick-ass scene. It was great seeing the younger mutants, seeing Nightcrawler, Jean, and Cyclops actually kick ass in this movie without Wolverine. And Olivia Munn is Psylocke, yeah. Olivia Munn's Psylocke, she is hot as fuck. The only reason to watch this movie, but yeah, overall, it is a clumsy Storm. It is a weak film. It's not the best, but also not awful enough to be down lower. Catch up on chat, okay. Apparently, Asian Psylocke is the body swap version of her. Her real body is that of the original Captain Britain. Yeah, Betsy Braddock and Quanon. It's a really weird story. Even I don't fully grasp it. This is the first YouTuber who played Jubilee. Oh, lucky her. Also, Jubilee doesn't have a vampire form like in the comics. That came later, Akira. That was something they added much later. Wasn't Jubilee also a teenager in the original trilogy? Yeah, that was another weird retcon. Jubilee and Nightcrawler, who were both younger X-Men in X-Men 2, also show up in this, and they're the same age as Cyclops and Jean, which is very bizarre. This had, yeah, a lot more continuity breaking in this film, and that's kind of why people hate it. They walked back a lot of the fixes Days of Future Past did and had more bad continuity. Also, why don't they get another actress to play Mystique like Grey DeLisle? Grey DeLisle's a voice actress, so can't play her in live action. I could see her in the cartoon, but not here. Is 80s Jubilee present day Jubilee's mother? Nah, I don't know. They both wear yellow, and Jubilee wears her stupid yellow jacket in this movie, and that's about it. Apocalypse, it's kind of a mess. Not one of the worst movies ever, but ultimately kind of generic and lackluster. Apocalypse is a letdown. I don't recommend it highly. The only reason to watch it is for Olivia Munn's Psylocke. But it's going on our first clumsy Storm. However, it was saved by its redemption, Logan. Yep, and up next is the last of the user, I mean Logan. I mean, it's sort of the same, isn't plot. Jubilee is better than Firecracker from The Boys. Well, yeah, Jubilee's been around longer. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, yeah. X23 is here. Yep. Hey, network. Glad you made it. We're on Logan. Logan might upset people, but going on to Extreme. Yeah, I do not think Logan is the greatest X-Men movie ever. I like it, but not fully a master of Magnet, and I do have my reasons. So if you don't know, this is another one taking place in the future. It's sort of the story Old Man Logan, where Wolverine has now gotten a lot older. He's not the same young hero he once was. He's suffering more slow healing factor, and honestly, the first thing that pissed me off about this, all the X-Men except for him and Professor X are dead. Yeah, apparently, the X-Men, all of them except for Wolverine and Professor X, they're all dead. Storm, Jean, Cyclops, Beast. Yeah, all of them gone. They're gone. Professor X has gone senile, suffering from dementia, and accidentally killed them all with his mind. And I guess none of the villains are still around anymore because no mention of Mystique, who's also immortal like Logan, but yeah. Logan's pretty awesome, very tragic, but awesome. Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart gave amazing performances. Fully agree. I found out about X-Men 23 in the cartoon X-Men Evolution. Yeah, this is the movie which introduced us to fan favorite X-23. A character originally invented for the Evolution cartoon makes her live action debut in this. If you don't know, X-Men X-23 is a mutant girl with Wolverine's powers. She's a female clone of Wolverine. She was created by the government to be another ultimate mutant Weapon X villain. She was created to be a super soldier. However, X-23 broke out. She was saved by, I believe, her mother. It's implied to be a foster mom. She didn't actually give birth to her. The X-23 and her foster mom are fleeing from the government and they need Wolverine's help. Logan is basically summoned for one last job, be a hero one more time. Logan's a bit reluctant at first, but he finds out this mutant girl has superpowers and the government, led by Donald Pierce, I believe was his name, this weird evil mutant cyborg guy who's doing experiments on mutants. Yeah, I think his name was Pierce or something. Yeah, Donald Pierce is hunting her and going on a manhunt for mutants. Once again, mutants are now hated by humanity and are being hunted down and killed. Wolverine basically helps X-23 dodge the government. They're on the lam, and basically the entire plot is them running away, trying to get to the Canadian border, where the US government has no jurisdiction and can't arrest mutants. And yeah, it's Logan, Patrick Stewart's Professor X, now a senile old Professor X, and X-23 going on this wacky family road trip, being hunted by an evil government cyborg and his assassins. Oh, and Stephen Merchant is in this as Cabal, I think was his name. Yeah, Stephen Merchant, who plays Wheatley from Portal 2, is like a weird albino mutant. He was set up in Apocalypse, so he is a canon character. Also, why didn't they call it Old Man Logan than just Logan if they don't do The Last Ronin but called it Mikey? Yeah, that was kind of a weird choice. I guess they didn't want to make Hugh Jackman feel offended by calling him old or something. The power of plot armor. Like she's played by Daphne Keane. Yeah, Daphne Keane plays X-23. Oh, she's in The Acolyte. We don't talk about The Acolyte. Yeah, fully agree. Caliban. Okay, that's his name. Caliban. That's Stephen Merchant. Kind of like the original Harley Quinn who was for the Batman the Animated Series. Yeah, X-23 is like their Harley Quinn. Okay, so the girl playing X-23 is pretty good. She has a cute chemistry with Logan. Logan reluctantly finds himself as like this foster dad, mentoring her, caring for her, helping Laura, that's her name, get across the border. He doesn't like her at first, but of course they bond. She's basically like a little girl version of Wolverine and really liked her powers. If you don't know, X-23 can grow claws on her hands and her feet. She has like feet claws that she can pierce people with. She kills a lot of government agents brutally. Wolverine helps her grow a bit more of a conscience. They're saved by Eric LaSalle from the Twilight Zone's Memphis. Yeah, it was really weird seeing here. He's the black farmer. He takes them in on their farm while they're being hunted. And unfortunately, this is where the movie kind of lost me. The tragedy, it is kind of bleak, depressing, and very nihilistic at times. And what costed this the perfect victory is Professor X dies. Donald Pierce has a new weapon, X-24, which is just Wolverine, an exact clone of him, but younger and still in shape. X-24 kills Professor X, anticlimactically murders the best character of the movie, and yeah, once again, I am bummed out because I love Professor X, and Patrick Stewart especially. He's horribly murdered by X-24, he's assassinated. X-24 murders most of the family at this barn. Eric LaSalle dies fighting him. Wolverine and X-23 are now alone. They barely escape. And Stephen Merchant's Caliban heroically sacrifices himself, blowing up the government van he was trapped in. He blows up the government van and allows Wolverine and Laura to escape, helping them. X-24 is technically the final boss of this movie, and yeah, I'm gonna say what everyone else said. It should have been Sabretooth. Wouldn't it have been really cool if X-24 was instead Sabretooth? Like, finally fulfilling what Origins Wolverine set up, that Sabretooth is the only one capable of killing Logan, and the two brothers have their final fight. I guess Liev Schreiber was too busy doing the My Little Pony movie, but whatever. X-24 is kind of our stand-in for Sabretooth. I can't wait for your comments on the Dark Phoenix. That is my least favorite X-Men movie. Yeah, don't worry, got nothing good to say there. Romeo and Juliet, yeah. X-24 needs to fight Cassandra Cain or Melina in death battle. Melina might stand a chance. Also, if X-23 is in the X-Men cartoon remake, could get Christina Vita voice her. They did have Andrea Libman voice X-23 originally. Of course, because Logan's death, this universe's anchor being lost is the great person, yeah. Okay, so Wolverine and X-23 eventually meet these mutant runaway kids, like these lost boys. One of them is implied to be Polaris. He has magnet powers, but it's not a girl. It's supposed to be Polaris, but they couldn't get a girl. I guess they wanted a boy to even out the children. Male Polaris helps take them in. Wolverine gets a haircut, and he looks like the OG Wolverine again. Logan basically gets his groove back. Despite being an old man, he still kicks ass. He's still the hero these kids need. Wolverine helps the kids cross the border. He almost chickens out, but ends up giving himself this adrenaline shot, and Wolverine's back in action. The government tries to ambush them at the Canadian border. All the mutant kids kick ass. Donald Pierce is ripped to shreds by the mutants he tortured. Very satisfying death. And Logan has his final battle with X-24, where ultimately they both die. They both end up killing themselves. X-24 is kind of anticlimactically shot dead with an adamantium bullet, which didn't kill Logan in Origins Wolverine, but whatever, it killed the final boss. Logan's a hero, but unfortunately his healing factor isn't enough anymore. He dies getting impaled on a tree. Logan dies, X-23 expresses emotions for the first time and cares for him, where they give Logan a proper hero's burial. Logan is buried and they give him the X on his grave because he's an X-Man. And it ends on kind of a sad, tragic, yet bittersweet ending. The mutant children are safe, the villains are all dead, but Logan also died, and he finally got his final blaze of glory, where Hugh Jackman can finally retire playing Wolverine. Until Deadpool digs his corpse back up. Yeah, so Logan is definitely a good movie. However, it kind of dropped in quality when Professor X was killed for me. It got very depressing. That was my big problem. It's a lot more bleak, nihilistic. I understand it's kind of gone for a Western feel, and a lot of people love that about the movie, but for me, it's honestly too sad to revisit and rewatch. It's basically the deaf swan song for Wolverine. X-23 is better than Cassandra Cain, yeah, for sure. Especially Birds of Prey, Cassandra. Not the only version. Like, Deadpool and Wolverine is the sequel in Logan. Well, technically, he's not Logan's Wolverine. This is the Wolverine we've been following from the 2000s all the way to his last movie. This is the canon Wolverine, as I like to call him. They got Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine for one last hurrah, and it was a bit better because it was happier, but Logan, it's a beautiful tragedy. I do like it. It does kick ass. It's got very savage action, really good storytelling. I do like how it's basically praising all the best moments of Wolverine. However, it's also his final farewell, which kind of bummed me out. Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine get that sequel. I guess the Japanese mutant girl prophecy, in a matter of speaking, kind of like Greek mythology. Okay. Anyways, Logan, it is good. I will put it on extreme, but I like the other movies because they're more fun. I watch these movies to have fun, and Logan going for an dead straight tragedy is what holds it back for me. I do think it's kind of bleak at times, very nihilistic, very uncomfortable at times, and ultimately I don't rewatch it because it ends with Wolverine's death, which always kind of made me sad, but I will admit it is a good movie. I will settle on Extreme, but it doesn't outclass the other X-Men movies for me. Logan, definitely a great final farewell. Alright, gonna use the restroom again, but we're on the final four. Next up, Deadpool 2. BRB. Fuck Wolverine. That was the opening line, Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2, underrated sequel. It is going all the way onto the Master of Magnets. And yes, I do love it more than the first movie. After Deadpool's great success, he ultimately loses his way when it opens up with Vanessa being killed off. Yeah, the hot girlfriend he saved in the first movie dies right in the opening of this movie. Vanessa is killed, and Deadpool loses the will to live despite being immortal and can never die. Deadpool has given up on life, fallen under depression, where he undergoes an identity crisis to find himself all over again, where Colossus wants him to join the X-Men and be a hero, but Deadpool basically kind of can't find his way. He's suffering a lot of depression, a lot of angst, and doesn't want to be the nice guy hero Colossus wants to shape him as. However, things get more intense when Cable shows up. Cable time travels to the modern day to assassinate a child who grows up to be an all-powerful supervillain. The kid, Russell, is a super pyrokinetic mutant who becomes the ultimate supervillain who killed Cable's parents. So Deadpool has to fight Cable over the fate of this kid, deciding his destiny while also understanding a little about himself. And Deadpool forms his team, what are they called? The X-Force. Yeah, that's it. The X-Force are in this movie, and most of them die except for Domino. Really love Domino. Zazie Beetz is hot as heck. Really liked Domino. She's sexy, she's feisty, she kicks ass, and has a really fun superpower. She has luck-based powers. Not as hot as she is in Wolverine and the X-Men, but I guess they couldn't get a second blue girl. Deadpool 2 is definitely another fun entry, and also arguably the most emotional too. Yeah, Deadpool 2, a lot of good emotion and a lot of fun humor. I do think it is better than the first movie. There are some who will defend that the first is the classic and better one, and 2 is a step down, but I really love it. I thought it was fun. Cassandra Cain's pre-New 52 is cool. Yeah, it is. Dark Phoenix is dull. Almost at that one, Akira. Almost, but we're on Deadpool 2. Doesn't he have a daughter? Wolverine? I think so. Magneto has a daughter, I know that. Domino's my waifu. Yeah, I got good taste, John Smith. Loved Domino in this. She's hot, really kick-ass, and one of the fun characters because she's not afraid to sass against Deadpool. So the kid killed Cyclops and Jean Grey's clones. Yeah, Cable is the son of Cyclops and the Phoenix, and I guess they're dead in the future because Russell ends up becoming this all-powerful supervillain who kills them. Deadpool temporarily becomes an X-Men, but they find out that Russell is at this abusive orphanage who treats mutant children like freaks and abuse him. Deadpool kills one of the jackass wardens basically of this orphanage, and this gets him into a ton of trouble because he goes on a killing spree, disgraces the X-Men, gets fired by Colossus, and arrested for making the situation worse, where he and Russell are both sentenced to prison together, where I believe they ran into Black Tom, or whatever his name was, like Black Tom or something. Yeah, Deadpool's in prison, and Deadpool has still given up on life and become this cynical jerk. Deadpool is definitely undergoing a negative emotional trauma right now. Deadpool is a total jackass, and not a funny one this time. He's more of a mean-spirited one, and it makes sense. He lost his girlfriend. He doesn't have much to live for, and is very unhappy with his life. He acts like a jerk to Russell. However, Cable breaks in and tries to assassinate Russell, and this triggers Deadpool to snap back into action, realizing that Cable is going to hurt the kid. And Deadpool becomes the anti-hero again in order to save Russell, because Russell is destined to become the supervillain who will destroy the world, including Cable's parents. Cable, played by Thanos, Josh Brolin, in his first Marvel movie. Really cool, really badass, got this Terminator feel. He's this big, buff, badass mercenary with a lot of gun powers. He's like part cyborg. Really awesome, not gonna lie. The guy that runs down in the orphanage was also Ray Donovan with Liev Schreiber. Okay. Oh, Deadpool has a daughter. I don't know, I haven't read that. Also, why not dye Domino's skin blue, or Domino's actress allergic to blue dye paint? I guess, well, she's black, she's definitely a dark color. Would have liked blue Domino, but Zazie Beetz isn't ugly. Who are you? I'm Domino. What's your power? I'm lucky. That's not a power. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yeah, she's got luck powers. Domino is really fun. She has, like, this incredibly bullcrap, like, luck powers where she falls, like, out of a crashing car and she lands, like, safely on a bounce house. She has perfect gunshots. She can kill people without even trying. She's driving a car, which is partially demolished, but has basically good luck that she doesn't crash it or die. Yeah, Deadpool, I don't know if he has a daughter. I know Ryan Reynolds does, but not Deadpool. Yeah, the guy that runs the orphanage, okay. His name is Black Tom Cassidy. Okay, that's his name. Deadpool's 2 is probably the weakest of the 3. I barely remember it, and Ryan ruined the much better, more comic accurate Juggernaut, which is voice alone. Yeah, Juggernaut, bitch, is back in the sequel. Russell has an odd friendship with the Juggernaut. It's a surprise twist that the Juggernaut's in this movie, and yeah, they do CGI him. Ryan Reynolds plays him. I'm gonna rip you in half now. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds plays the Juggernaut. He never takes off his helmet, but he also never takes off his prison suit, which disappointed me. Juggernaut is more comic accurate in this, but Ryan Reynolds plays him for laughs. Juggernaut and Russell team up, and basically they become prison bros, where they vow to get revenge on those who wrong them. Russell breaks out of the prison thanks to Cable, and he and the Juggernaut go on a rampage, and they want to destroy the orphanage. Russell is basically getting back at his abusers. He's not really evil. He was abused into becoming a bad guy, and this will trigger his start of darkness for sure, and Deadpool and Cable race against the clock to stop him. We also meet the X-Force in this, and all of them except for Domino die horribly. I remember there's like this one guy who took it up as like a hobby for his job, and all of the X-Force die in that parachuting accident. It is darkly hilarious. I would argue it's the funniest scene in the movie. Yeah, Juggernaut's in this movie. Deadpool 2, yeah. Juggernaut is Professor X's half-brother. Who came up with that? Probably a guy that can't draw feet. Also, Cable's actor was in the stage... Okay, don't watch his stage plays. Deadpool killed Ryan Reynolds for making the Green Lantern movie. That was also a funny joke. So, really love Domino. She's funny, she kicks ass. Zazie Beetz is quite the looker. Cable is badass. He's this rough, gruff, kind of grizzled, bitter old anti-hero. But he forms his odd friendship with Wade like he does in the comics. we find out Cable is not the bad guy. He's avenging the death of his parents. He's also a tragic villain. He and Deadpool come around to understanding each other, and Cable reluctantly allies himself with Deadpool because they both want to stop Russell from going on a rampage. But Cable wants to stop him from becoming a supervillain. Deadpool wants to stop him from throwing his life away, realizing that he and Russell have much in common, and Deadpool basically snaps out of his depression. Lots of funny scenes, a lot of funny Deadpool moments, fourth wall breaking, comedy antics. Deadpool has great chemistry with his cast. Ultimately, the final fight takes place at the abusive orphanage, which is related to the Essex Corporation. If you don't know, that's Mr. Sinister's company, because they really thought Mr. Sinister was going to be in this universe, but yeah. Basically, the Essex Corporation is running tests on mutants. Russell and the Juggernaut invade, where our heroes arrive nick of time to have that badass final fight. And yeah, it's pretty goofy, but pretty fun. Juggernaut is humiliated and defeated. They shove a electric wire up his ass and throw him in a pool where he dies. And Domino's luck-based power is really funny. She accidentally kills a bunch of pedophiles and evil, corrupt guards. It's very hilarious watching children cheer her on. And of course, we get the emotional moment where Deadpool wants to stop Russell from basically turning to the dark side. He puts on the depowering collar for supervillains and takes a bullet for Russell, and this convinces Russell to turn good because Wade finally apologizes and did show he did care for him after all, where Cable uses time travel to go back in time and prevent Wade's death, revealing that he could stop this all along. He actually did want to use this against Russell, but decides to use it to save Deadpool's life. Wade ends up saving Russell. They help him, and the warden gets killed by the cab driver accidentally running him over. So yay, all the abusers die. And happy ending. Deadpool finally found his happy ending, restored purpose in his life, and uses the time travel to go on wacky misadventures. So Deadpool, he does go back in time and he kills the stupid Weapon 11 from Origins Wolverine in a funny scene. Remember he shot Weapon 11 dead. And he goes back and kills Ryan Reynolds from making the Green Lantern movie, which, thank goodness for that, because it was awful. Juggernaut's powers. He's super strength. That is his powers. That's another thing I praise Deadpool and Wolverine for, bringing back Vinnie Jones as Juggernaut. Would have loved his voice attached to the CGI. Yeah, Vinnie Jones is a much better Juggernaut than given credit for. I do like him. Yeah, Deadpool kills Ryan for making the Green Lantern movie. That was one of the funniest scenes. Sorry, just catching up on chat. Yeah, Jon Stewart should have been Green Lantern. He should have been. Ryan Reynolds could have been a good Green Lantern, but he just wasn't. He had a garbage movie. Apparently his powers are magic. He's apparently in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Talk about obviously telling people you're evil without admitting you're evil at the same time. Yeah, Hope doesn't show up with Cable. That was kind of weird. Black Tom Cassidy. Yeah, that was his name. He was in Hellboy as the Crooked Man. Oh, nice. Really upgraded his comic movies. Okay, so anyways, Deadpool 2, I think it's a really good sequel. It is funny, it is great, it has a lot more emotion and heart than the first movie. Deadpool does save Vanessa at the end of the movie, rendering killing her off completely pointless, which, yeah, kind of raises a question that, doesn't that retcon this entire adventure out of existence? But whatever, he has his X-Force and his family. Deadpool is happy again. He saved all the problems. He and Cable become reluctant frenemies, and really happy ending. Deadpool 2 is a fun sequel. I do think it's better than the first one because, exactly like X-Men 2, it doubled down on all the strengths. So yeah, Deadpool 2, it belongs here in Master of Magnet. Unfortunately, we now reach some bad movies. Dark Phoenix, which, going into Dumbpool. And yes, it is worse than X-Men Origins Wolverine. Once again, they tried doing the Dark Phoenix saga and failed. Dark Phoenix is the god-awful finale for the prequel saga, and it ended the prequel era on a complete wet fart. once again, Jean Grey undergoes a trauma and identity crisis where she is taken over by the Phoenix Force. I kid you not, out of nowhere, the villains of this movie are aliens. So in the comics, the Phoenix Force was unlocked by the Skrulls, but the Fox universe did not have access to the Skrulls because they were being used on that god-awful Captain Marvel movie, so they're replaced with generic aliens who convince the Phoenix Force to come out and use their powers to take over the world. And the X-Men are at their friggin' worst in this movie. And now we get to the Dark Phoenix. It's garbage, fully agree. Yeah, Cable could fight Bun-X. That would be pretty fun, but Bun-X would totally win. Okay, so, really hate this movie. Professor X is a dickhead. Raven Mystique is completely bastardized. I hated this movie. Jennifer Lawrence pretty much stopped giving a crap by this time. She's not enjoying being Mystique. She had that cringy line, "We should change the name to X-Women because the women carry all the men." It's like, oh, shut the hell up. That was cringe. It's like, yeah, let's be X-Women. It's like, girl, you left your brother because Michael Fassbender was hot and you wanted to get laid. You are not in the position to call yourself a strong, moral woman. Yeah, and Mystique also dies in this movie. She's killed by the Phoenix Force, anticlimactically shot with the powers and impaled on a wooden post. She's like stabbed by like debris from a destroyed house, and yeah, they killed my waifu Mystique in this movie, so instant decayed skull. And all the X-Men are bad. Like, Cyclops does not understand what Jean's going through. Beast teams up with Magneto to murder Jean because she murdered Mystique. Beast had a crush on Mystique, and because Mystique died, Beast wants to team up with Magneto to murder Jean, which, huge out of character moment. That is awful. And Nightcrawler full-blown murders people in this. Storm doesn't get to do much, and Quicksilver is in this movie. He's once again cool, but then he's taken out like in the first half hour. He like breaks his leg from the Phoenix Force and never shows up ever again. They nerf Quicksilver, so he's removed, so there goes the best X-Man character. Men part is neutral, yeah. Also, Vuk is the main villain. Yeah, that's her. Instead of the Skrull Queen, it's Vuk. Only good thing about Dark Phoenix was the reuse of Fassbender's first class helmet for 2 scenes, yeah. Dark Phoenix was lame, yeah. If the Phoenix powers are from space, then what about the Phoenix powers in the last movie? Those were retconned as her mutation, which I was a lot more willing to buy. Here, no, they're like an alien cosmic entity. Jean is becoming like their god, the Phoenix, and the aliens want her to embrace the Phoenix side and become evil. And 2, Jean's backstory is not interesting. Jean is not one of my favorite X-Men characters at all. I find her the most vanilla and boring out of all the protagonists. Basically, it is so obvious where this movie's going. Jean is on the dark side. We find out her origin, that her parents gave her up at the X-Men Institute and never came back for some reason. And when she confronts her dad, we find out, yeah, big shock, they rejected her. The dad was afraid of her because she's a mutant. Yeah, he abandoned Jean, which you can all see coming from a mile away. It is obvious in the flashback. That's how obvious it is. Yeah, they abandoned her, and Jean basically feels betrayed and loses the will to go on and embraces the Phoenix side, where the aliens help use her to become a galactic conqueror, while the X-Men struggle to save the day. Nightcrawler full-blown kills people. We do meet the infamous Mutant Division Police, or they're called the MCU. Yeah, I kid you not, there's a joke where a police nicknamed the Mutant Control Unit, aka the MCU, show up to take away the X-Men. Yeah, if that's not a big symbolic middle finger, I don't know what is. Like, so bad, like it's the worst Phoenix versus Raven. Why didn't they use Scarlet Witch versus Raven? I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Also, Jessica Chastain is a weird actress. Yeah, it is. Yeah. They did reuse that helmet. So Magneto's on the island Genosha. He is making Genosha like he does in the comics and the cartoon. Genosha is an island paradise for mutants to basically live in peace and harmony for, and Magneto's like the king of it. He's making Genosha, but Phoenix shows up and basically destroys the entire island and ruins his dream, and Magneto teams up with Beast to murder this teenage girl who can't control her mutant powers, and so out of character. Beast is kind of a villain in this movie. He's teaming up with Magneto to kill her. A lot of goofy adventuring. Professor X has to learn like a humility lesson. Apparently Professor X has gotten a huge ego since the X-Men and the government are now best friends. Like, Professor X is a total jackass like Dr. Loomis and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Professor X is now a shallow, fame-seeking, money-grubbing douchebag who has to learn to be a good guy again, like Malcolm McDowell's Dr. Loomis. And also super out of character, Professor X would never do this. Yes, Professor X does have his flaws, but being an arrogant, egotistical glory hound does not describe Professor X in the slightest. Jean uses her mental powers to torture Professor X, which you don't feel sorry for because he deserves it at this point. And there's this big epic fight scene. Phoenix goes on the loose, is destroying everything, and like, of course, they use like the power of friendship to get into Jean, where she realizes the error of her ways. I believe she killed the alien queen, the not Skrull. She flies off into space and blows up, forming a constellation, which surprisingly lamer than Famp Jansen's death in The Last Stand. And basically, Professor X renames the school after Jean Grey in the end. It's a weird bittersweet ending where all the mutants are now friends again, they're united, and they learn a lesson about family and being together and loving each other, all that vomit-inducing glurge. And Jean is dead, except they tease she might still be alive and the Phoenix Force is still out there. But we end on Magneto and Professor X playing chess because it's a callback to the good first movie. Yep, this movie sucks. This movie sucks. They killed off my crush Mystique. They bastardized most of the X-Men. A lot of the special effects look really fake. The story is a total mess, and the heroes act more like villains in this movie. They ruined a lot. It is a god-awful finale. The worst send-off the prequel trilogy could ever gain. For me, I think Apocalypse was a better finale than this. Dark Phoenix is bad. It is bad. It's mean-spirited, nihilistic, and makes god-awful character assassinations. Also, Arike, male mutant with had braids for weapons. And I'm glad Firestar wasn't in this crappy movie. Yeah, she dodged a bullet. Also, I hope we get Faye Mata to play Firestar in the X-Men cartoon. We'll see. I would have been better if Emma Frost survived and reestablished the Hellfire Club. Yeah, it would have been better. And we're the antagonists. Yeah, Emma Frost and Psylocke should have came back to become the real villains, but nope, it's aliens who are slightly based off of the Skrulls, because that's what happened in the comics, but we couldn't get the Skrulls, and Fox was very bitter about Disney buying out the X-Men. They were definitely rushing out this movie, and honestly, they completely missed the mark. Phoenix is a bad thought which deserves to be erased. It might be the #1 dumb poo. Alright, I gotta get more water, but next up, the final dribble, the New Mutants. BRB, getting some water. Alright, I'm back and refreshed. How y'all feeling about the New Mutants? Yeah, the book is Diet Scrolls. Totally agree, Akira. So we got two crappy movies because Disney refused to share the rights, so the Scrolls... Oh, to the Scrolls. It probably would have been not completely fixed, but it would have been better. Yeah, it would have been cool seeing the Scrolls actually in a movie, but... We got them in Captain Marvel, which would also be down here if we were ranking those. Anyways, New Mutants. More like the Pooh Mutants. They're going down low. Yeah, New Mutants sucks. It is a complete waste of time. It is a spin-off which led to a franchise that got canceled eventually. So, the New Mutants are about the younger next-gen X-Men. We have Magic, we have Wolfsbane, we have Sunspot, we have, like, I can't remember the other two guys. There's also, like, a weird baby dragon type of thing in here. Oh, Cannonball. Cannonball's in this movie, too. Basically, these are the next-gen X-Men. However, they're captured by what's implied to be Mr. Sinister's corporation, and they're at an evil mutant school, which is haunted or something. Yeah, this movie's kind of a mess. Basically, we're following these naive mutant children who are stuck in this evil, corrupt, perfect school. They're doing experiments on them for some sinister reason. However, some spooky, supernatural stuff occurs, and eventually they fight a giant cosmic space bear. Yeah, I am not even kidding. The villain is a giant cosmic astral bear. So my friend Bodhi really likes Magic, but I thought she was a bitch in this. The New Mutants, most of them are very unlikable. There's like two sympathetic characters. Wolfsbane got retconned into a lesbian. No, she was not a lesbian in the comics. She was actually bisexual, but yeah. Wolfsbane is into girls in this movie, and she has like a lesbian romance. I guess it was supposed to reach those Zoomer kids, but didn't because nobody cared by this point. The X-Men franchise was a complete mess. This has so much mood whiplash. There's like these weird look-see monster mutants that haunt the school. They have like bad dreams, Freddy Krueger nightmares. They're studying their powers. There's kind of a mystery to what's going on. This movie got reshot several times, had several deleted scenes. Antonio Banderas was supposed to be Mr. Sinister, but that never happened and they reshot that. Yeah, the demon bear, it's a giant. It's a giant kaiju space bear. Magic is Colossus' sister. Okay, thank you, Bat Kid. I did not know that. Okay, Cannonball, Sunspot. I know Wolfsbane is on here. She's the Femwolf. Like, Wolfsbane is there in the movie who turned into Femwolf. Yeah, that's Wolfsbane. And Magic is in this. People argue Magic's the best character, but I did not care about her. She was mean. New Mutants total dumb poo, yeah. Like, the book in the comics is male, and they have veggie tail alien heads. They were too cheap on that. In a golden armor suit. Sorry, just catching up on the chat. Sorry for the silence. Never bothered with this. Even the trailers for the New Mutants weren't that great, so I dodged this awful bullet at least. Yeah, you did, Shadowlink. It is a complete mess. The mood and atmosphere are all over the place. It can't decide if it wants to be a CW tween drama, or a horror movie, or a supervillain origin story. It kind of goes back and forth. It feels like everything but an X-Men movie, that's for sure. James Gunn's Daphne Blake and Buffy actress in the archive footage, also gross, yeah. Alternate ending, Wesker kills them all, that would have been cool. Isn't one of their powers the power to form energy kaiju? Yeah, that is one of their powers. Yeah, Anna Taylor-Joy was Princess Peach in Super Mario Bros. Yeah, Anna Taylor-Joy is in this as Magic, and I know Bodhi really likes her because she is very pretty, but Magic is really mean. She's kind of the jerk popular girl. She gets character development where she becomes nicer and accepts her hero role, but not personality-wise like her comic counterpart. Okay, so The movie kind of got reshot several times, so there's a lot of loose plot threads. Weird stuff happens. They fight these look-see looking monsters who haunt the school. They find out that there's more to the school than meets the eye. They're ultimately being trained as super soldiers, and somewhere along the line, there's a giant astral cosmic space bear that's going to attack the planet, and these mutants have to basically fight it. They have to fight a giant kaiju astral space bear. I am not exaggerating, that is actually the plot. The space bear attacks and it kills their professor. There's this mysterious doctor girl who's acts mysterious and shady, hiding something. We find out she was actually trying to help the kids, and she gets eaten by the giant space bear, like breaks through the wall in a jump scare, and yeah, it eats the professor. So the kids are on their own, where they unite to fight the giant cosmic space bear and unlock their true potential. They defeat the space bear and they go on adventures for a sequel, which is never happening because this movie sucked. God, that sounds stupid. Yeah, basically the space bear is supposed to have like these Freddy Krueger powers. The space bear is behind the hauntings. It's coming to Earth and causing all these trippy supernatural events. The look-sees are like servants for the space bear because the cosmic space bear is like the living embodiment of nightmares. Yeah, it's a nightmare boogeyman. It's like bringing these supernatural beings to life. I think Magic adopts her dragon because of the space bear. It's causing these supernatural events happening around the school. The look-sees are the space bear's goons who are trying to kill them for it, and yeah, they fight the giant kaiju bear. Magic unlocks her awesome superpowers in the only good CGI scene, and they slay the bear. Like, this is cosmic Freddy Fazbear's true form, and Firestar is safe from these two terrible movies. Yeah, thank goodness Firestar didn't join here. Moonstar, aka Mirage. Okay, that was her. Okay. Isn't one of their powers? Yeah, alright. Read that. She can. Moonstar, that was her name. Yeah. There's a lot of cheesy CW drama, like Wolfsbane comes out as a lesbian and has a forbidden romance with one of the students. All the kids are trying to find themselves. I think Sunspot and Cannonball fight over Magic because she's hot. And yeah, a lot of high school antics mixed in here with the supernatural. The Space Bear is a dumb villain. This might be the worst villain of the entire franchise. A giant cosmic space bear is the endgame monster of this movie. Absolutely no one went in knowing that. This movie sucks, man. Sounds like the plot of the Silver Age comic with the cosmic space bear. Yeah, it was based off of the classic, Golden and Silver Age comics where comics were goofier, but they tried to give it a modern spin and it did not work. Having a cosmic space bear as the villain of a haunted mutant school was not something I'd expected. I wouldn't even recommend it as so bad it's good because there's a lot of boring teen drama crap, which doesn't make you feel for the characters. These mutants deserve better. It is a steaming pile of bear poo. Alright, last one. Let's end on a high note. Deadpool and Wolverine. Sorry, just getting some of my water. Because I got a lot of positive things to say about this one. Alright, ending on the greatest of all final notes. Deadpool and Wolverine, of course, going into Master of Magnet. This is the real good finale for the Fox universe. I know it's technically an MCU product, but let's be real, this is kind of a final farewell to all the Fox Marvel stuff. Deadpool and Wolverine is the newest film. It came out like just last year, and yep, it's epic. It is awesome. It is perfect. It is a fun, stupid comedy. Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine. They plucked a variant from an X-Men multiverse as Wolverine. Deadpool basically broke the space-time continuum by time traveling in Deadpool 2, where the TVA from Loki recruit him as their new agent. However, Deadpool discovers that their timeline, aka the Fox universe, is getting erased. So Deadpool wants to save his franchise, where he recruits the anchor of the multiverse. So if you're not familiar with the MCU, basically there's a quote-unquote anchor, a character who must exist in every universe and basically keeps their universe in existence. Deadpool thinks his universe's anchor, but we find out, nope, it's actually Wolverine. He needs a Wolverine in his timeline, and Wolverine died. He died in Logan. The original anchor for this franchise is gone, where Deadpool recruits a variant of Wolverine from the multiverse, and this is where the MCU's garbage multiverse idea actually did pay off, because it's a fun, dumb movie with a lot of what-if characters and cameos from past Marvel stuff. Till you're 90. Alright, reading some comments. Yeah, Adam Beach was Moonstar's father. The cosmic space bear feels like a rejected Goosebumps villain. Messiah Williams also played Arya Stark in the game. Till you're 90 is the bridge from the Fox MCU. Yeah, this is the bridge movie. Basically, the MCU bought out Fox, and this is their technically official first movie, but we are counting it as an X-Men because Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is back, and they do reference his past films. At least it's not an ambiguous fog creature being called Cosmic Space Bear. Yeah, Cassandra Nova is lame. The villain is Professor X's evil sister, Cassandra Nova. Cassandra Nova is the villain in the Fox timeline, and she realizes that she can seize the TVA and take it over. Cassandra Nova is causing disruptions in the timeline herself. She's causing a lot of disruptions in the continuity time, and she wants to escape from her time and take over the TVA, which is why Deadpool's brought in, because he's from the same world as Cassandra, and he's the only one who can stop her. But Deadpool does things his own way, because of course he's Deadpool. He goes to alternate dimensions, and very funny seeing all these comic Wolverines. We actually see the little Wolverine, because Wolverine's actually a short guy in the comics. We see like a little person, Hugh Jackman. We see a samurai Wolverine. We see a lot of what-if comic Wolverines. My favorite is Henry Cavill Wolverine. Yeah, remember Henry Cavill appears as Wolverine in this. But eventually he finds another close enough Hugh Jackman Wolverine. It turns out this Wolverine is a failure who ultimately did not make it as a great hero like the Wolverine in Logan did. Yeah, Calverine, Henry Cavill's Wolverine. Really liked that cameo. I hope that means Henry Cavill's gonna be Wolverine in the MCU now. That should be a tease to that. But yeah, he finds Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and they go on one last hurrah to stop Cassandra Nova. And they travel across the multiverse, kicking ass, taking names, and we get a lot of great cameos. We meet Chris Evans is in this movie, not as the hero you think he is. He's gonna say it. He's gonna say it. Flame on! And it turns out he's Human Torch from those garbage Fantastic Four movies. We see Wesley Snipes as Blade. I really loved him. We unfortunately see Jennifer Garner's Elektra. Did not like her. Channing Tatum is Gambit, and to be fair, he is comic accurate, but I didn't really like him. His voice got really annoying. X-23 from Logan comes back, now a teenager. Yeah, the little girl really grew up. X-23's back teaming up with Logan. We see Cassandra Nova recruited all the reject villains from the Fox universe. Azazel comes back, Pyro comes back, the Juggernaut bitch, Vinnie Jones comes back, Tyler Mane even comes back as Sabretooth, which I really wish they got Liev Schreiber instead, because Tyler Mane looks kind of like Santa Claus in this movie. And we see Ray Park comes back as Toad. Really badass seeing him again. And yeah, a whole bunch of rejected villains from all the Fox movies are back. Weirdly, they did not get McMahon's Doctor Doom in this movie. I thought they would have for sure, because he was actually pretty funny. Yeah, Shatterstar. Chris Evans, who's the Human Torch, who dies by Cassandra Nova. Well, Johnny shouldn't have pissed her off then and said all those terrible things behind her back. They should have had the original Gambit's actor reprise his role instead of rando celebrity, as far as I know. Well, Channing Tatum was apparently a fan casting for a long time, but that was back when he was still younger and hot, but yeah. And I do think they should have gotten, what's his name? Keish should have come back as Gambit. He was way better. Yeah, Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider didn't come back. That one sucked, but hey, I do like Wesley Snipes back as Blade. Blade was really kick-ass. I'm the only Blade, and there's only ever gonna be one Blade. That line kicks ass and sadly holds up well because the MCU can't get a good Blade movie off the ground. But yeah, they team up with all these past Fox heroes, they kick ass, Cassandra Nova escapes, and Deadpool and Wolverine follow after her. Tragically, this is the final farewell to the Fox timeline, so they all die. Yeah, really sad seeing Wesley Snipes' Blade go out, but what can I say, seeing Wesley Snipes' Blade really kick ass. Some motherfuckers still are always trying to ice skate uphill. Really cool seeing him. So, Deadpool and Wolverine chase Cassandra Nova. She escapes and breaks into the TVA and attacks that annoying black woman from the Loki show. I think she's the CEO of it, but yeah, she attacks her and hacks her way into all the dimensions, and we see all the multiverse Deadpools come out and they fight Deadpool and Wolverine. They're hired to basically stop the duo. Wolverine and Deadpool, we finally see Hugh Jackman don his kick-ass yellow suit, and that definitely made the film worth it. Of course, there's even more madness with all these other Deadpools. Yeah, there's Matthew McConaughey as Cowboy Deadpool. My friend Jon Snow really likes Lady Pool because she's Blake Lively. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds' real-life wife plays Lady Pool. There's Baby Pool, Samurai Pool. There's Marvel Zombies Deadpool, which I was surprised they actually did show. All these alternate Deadpools come out and they have a kick-ass, bloody-as-hell fight scene. Finally got to see Logan don his classic yellow jumpsuit, the spandex and mask. We do see Hugh Jackman at last wear the suit, and he kicks ass in it. Of course, they eventually fight, kill all the Deadpools, and defeat Cassandra Nova thanks to Deadpool's trickery, and they outsmart her. Oh, and male feminist Deadpool, that one was also funny and very accurate. Apparently Ryan Reynolds made fun of some YouTuber who criticized him as that character. Oh, basically, they fight, Wolverine finally proves himself, they save the day, save the multiverse, and defeat Cassandra Nova. They free him, and Deadpool is implied to be coming to the MCU now. It wouldn't surprise me, Ryan Reynolds is hilarious, and they're probably going to have him as Deadpool for a long time. But yeah, this Wolverine becomes the new anchor for like the Fox timeline somehow. But yeah, basically, it is a final happy ending. Deadpool also makes amends with his girlfriend, and they have their happily ever after. And we get a funny post-credit scene revealing that Deadpool did not lie. Johnny Storm really was a dickhead, bad-mouthing Sandra behind her back. Yep, it's awesome. This movie is awesome. Holy shit, you saved that for special occasions? Killing, mostly. Yeah, Samurai Deadpool. Yeah, Channing Tatum was Duke in G.I. Joe movies, and Superman in the Lego Batman movie. Couldn't get to Owen Wilson before he shaved his mustache. Yeah, they got Matthew McConaughey as Cowboy Pool, but to be funny, McConaughey was actually funny. Sorry, Ronan Poole, he did die. Kang's wife from the future, which will not happen because of the Amber Hearding. Yeah. Heard that's not gonna happen, but Joe Costa is thankfully a robot. Yeah, this movie, awesome, and Deadpool uses his TBA connections to save the most valuable life, Dogpool. Yep, he saves Dogpool out of all the characters from the Fox world. So yeah, happy ending, very goofy-ass comedy, really kick-ass. It absolutely pushed the envelope and was a great finale for the Fox X-Men saga, we'll put it that way. I know it's MCU, but this is the true finale over the garbage New Mutants and Dark Phoenix. Wolverine and Deadpool is a comedy classic and pretty much solidified Deadpool as an iconic superhero for film. Ryan Reynolds rocks, it's fun, kick-ass, great CGI, great comedy, takes full advantage of the multiverse. The multiverse is totally fun in this movie, and Deadpool absolutely nails shaming the modern MCU for sucking at it. So yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine, it is an all-time master of magnet. Canada Pool and Harold Pool. Yeah, there's a lot of Deadpools, guy. There's like an army of them, okay? So yeah, as you can see, that completes our tier list. Sorry, I need some water because I've been talking a lot. But yeah, that pretty much completes our tier list. Take a pick. Sorry I couldn't fit them all into one screen, but yeah, the bad movies are where they belong, dumb poo. And we got a lot more good all up top, Extreme and Master Magnet, really good movies, and two kind of in the middle. But yeah, as I said, I am a fan of the X-Men saga, and I am very glad we found a lot more good than bad from this franchise. Another part I love is when Deadpool and Wolverine ended up fighting in the car listening, "You're the one that I want." Yeah. So, "I'm going to fight you now." And they're fighting in the car because Wolverine dissed his girlfriend. Yeah, way better than Miraculous World Paris. Also Iron Pool, that is Deadpool Iron Man suit, and he was still able to do it, and the movie was still allowed to be made. Very glad this movie did get made. It is very great, and glad final hurrah for all the Fox Marvel movies, both good and bad. Yeah, it is a classic, of course it is. It is instantly a Master Magnet S-tier X-Men movie. Alright, go over them one more time for all you late birds. So, down here in the dumb poo, Origins Wolverine, The New Mutants, and Dark Phoenix. These movies are trash. Worst of the X-Men. Don't recommend them. Don't watch them. Don't waste a second of your precious life watching them. These are what people think when they picture bad X-Men media. None made it in Depowered Dud. That was kind of surprising. But in Clumsy Storm, we have X-Men Apocalypse. This movie has good moments, but is also very messy. It is a letdown. It's a disappointment. Not one of the worst superhero movies ever made, but not all that good. It is a weak movie. I might give it like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 compared to the rest, but hey, at least it's not worse than these. Then, Silver Cinema, The Wolverine. I think it's alright. Had a lot more good than Apocalypse did, but they did the villains very dirty. Did not like Silver Samurai and Madam Hydra being disrespected. It is a fun Wolverine movie, but ultimately not one you have to race out and watch. It's just an okay action Hugh Jackman movie. Would check it out if you're interested, but not one of the best X-Men. Didn't think Disney would allow him to criticize their writing. Well, that's because it's an R-rated movie. They probably would have blocked him if it was PG-13. Like Headpool is cool that you get a popcorn bucket out of it. Yeah, that was great. In Extreme, Logan and Days of Future Past. Yes, these are good movies. I do agree. I don't think they're S tier because I do have some issues with them. Logan, just a bit too depressing, and Days of Future Past, they murdered a ton of characters I actually liked, and some missteps here and there, but ultimately, these two are good movies. They are watchable, they are likable. I would highly recommend them still because they are fun, kick-ass X-Men stories. And in The Master of Magnet, got a whole lot of good up here, actually. The Last Stand. Yes, I Will Die on the Hill. This is a good movie. It is a fun finale. It is a perfect ending to the original X-Men trilogy. I do think it's good. It's got a lot of fun moments, a lot of kick-ass action, and very inventive storytelling with the X-Men. Yeah, I know, it's not the best, but hey, we'll still put it on Master of Magnet, just down low. X-Men 2000, great beginners movie for X-Men fans. If you're curious about the X-Men, this is definitely a solid introductory to the characters, and I do think they do them justice. It is fun. It is a basic yet great superhero movie. Deadpool 1. Yeah, this movie's revolutionary. It is a comedy classic. It made Deadpool cool, and is a great apology after Origins Wolverine ruined him. Deadpool 2, amazing sequel, upgraded everything great about Deadpool 1. I love it, love Domino especially. Ryan Reynolds is funny as hell, and the action is fun, and there's surprisingly a good amount of heart and love in this. Disney better not ruin the X-Men. Too late, they have Kamala Khan. And it's done now. The MCU movie is the next, or do we get Scooby-Doo TV series? Might not do the MCU because I've not watched all the shows because She-Hulk let me down. Anyways, X-Men 2, great middle chapter. It is an awesome sequel. This made people take the X-Men seriously. This is a fun, great tension-building, escalating sequel. I defend that it's a good movie, and I especially love my crush Rebecca Romijn's Mystique, but Wolverine's story arc and Colonel Stryker are really great characters. X-Men 2 is a must-watch. Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, I agree with all the fans. It is good. It is great. It is out of this world. It breaks the multiverse. It is the perfect finale to this film saga. And yes, I am counting it as a part of it because whether you like it or not, Deadpool is in the Fox universe. And my number one, X-Men First Class. I believe this is the greatest X-Men movie of all time. Yeah, I know, Wolverine and Deadpool is also great, but what can I say? This one is a more serious movie, and it does the X-Men much greater justice after Origins Wolverine failed it, and after X-Men 1 did more of a slow build towards it. First Class is my number one favorite X-Men movie. Could do movies only. I might, but I also don't want to see the Eternals again. My hopes for them to not ruin the Star Wars cough. Too late. But I guess not anymore with the MCU retcon. But yeah, this pretty much completes my list. Love the X-Men. We had a lot of good to say, actually. Some bad, but a lot more positive. I even forgave The Last Stand because it looks much better in comparison compared to modern Marvel movies. But yeah, that completes my list. Thank you guys for watching. I'm so glad you enjoy this content. I really love the X-Men, and I do like these tier lists. We'll see what we do next time. Got a lot going on right now, but we'll see where we land. I wanted to talk about the X-Men for a while, and I'm glad you guys showed up. So hopefully there'll be more extreme tier lists in the future. So, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more extreme videos here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and I wish you a final farewell. Until you're 90, Excelsior!